We are more than ready.
It's top of the hour, Professor Chondo.
Dear participants, good morning, good
It's top of the
afternoon.
hour, Professor Chondo.
Good afternoon, good morning, dear participants. You are welcome to the third and final day of the 2026 Manuscript Writing Hub Academy Virtual Conference under the theme Amplifying African Scholarship, Writing for Impact in a Complex World. Before we move in to begin, I would like to put a few ground rules, housekeeping rules. So we have an AI translation service available for our Francophone brothers and sisters. So if you look on the screen, we kindly request that you scan the QR code. Then you now move to step 2, where you select your preferred language. And step 3, you can now choose whether you want the transcription or voice activation. If you want the voice activation, you click on the unmute button, where you'll be able to have access to the voice translation. Thank you. Also, we now move to the next part, which would be the question and answer. So during the question and answer sessions, we kindly request all participants to drop your questions in the Q&A chat box so that the facilitator will be able to proceed. Thank you very much. I now hand over to my colleague Fafaf for the French translation. Thank you.
Bonjour et bonsoir à tous. Pour pouvoir utiliser Wordly, vous aurez d'abord à scanner le code QR avec votre téléphone pour la première étape. Ensuite, à la deuxième étape, vous devez sélectionner votre langue préférée. Dans ce cas, c'est le français. Et à la troisième étape, vous avez le choix entre lire ou écouter la traduction qui est autogénérée par l'IA. Pour écouter, veuillez cliquer sur l'icône audio pour activer la voix. Merci.
Thank you very much. So I now move to Professor John Doe. Over to you. Thank you.
Good morning, good afternoon, bonjour, bonsoir tout le monde. Bienvenue dans cette session. So I'll move to now my turn to introduce Professor Gregory Efosa Erabor. Professor Gregory, we are lucky to have you here. He's a towering figure in African medicine and respiratory research, whose career spans nearly 4 decades. He's a professor of medicine at Obafemi Awolowo University in Ile-Ife, Nigeria, where he heads the respiratory unit at the University of Teaching Hospital. Born in July 1957, Professor Erabor has dedicated his life to understanding and treating lung diseases that disproportionately affect, unfortunately, us African populations, including tuberculosis, asthma, COPD, and the respiratory consequences of biomass fuel exposure. He has authored over 290 publications, so we are lucky to have him today, appearing in prestigious journals such as European Respiratory Journal, CHEST, and the Lancet Oncology, and has led major multinational studies like the burden of obstructive lung disease project across dozens of sites worldwide. He's an editor-in-chief of our own West African Journal of Medicine, the flagship medical journal for the entire West African sub-region, placing him at the very center of the continent's academic publishing ecosystem. He's also pioneering founder of the Pan-African Thoracic Society, a former president of Nigeria Thoracic Society, and a former chairman of Stop TB Nigeria. When the COP27 climate conference called for Africa for action, he was among a small group of editors who co-authored the landmark editorial demanding accountability. What makes Professor Erabor truly remarkable is his unwavering commitment to building African publishing infrastructure from within. He has spent decades as gatekeeper who chooses to open doors rather than close them, mentoring countless young researchers through the publication process, often without recognition or reward. All while remaining rooted in Nigerian University, he joins us today to speak on the politics of publishing because he lives those politics every day. Please join me in welcoming Professor Gregory Efosa Erabo. Professor Gregory, welcome.
Welcome. Thank you so much. Can I have my slides now? Thank you so much for that introduction, and I'm so glad to be here, and also thank the host for inviting me. My job here is simple because when I look at the theme of the conference and the many speakers that have been here, we've dealt with the nitty-gritty things of publishing. And my goal here is to encourage the young ones, to inspire them, having been in publishing and academic career for over 4 decades. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Next slide. Now, publishing as we know, has gone as far back as 1500, and the knowledge has always come due to the introduction of printing as a means of expressing research and ideas around the world. And however, despite this has happened, it has not, the Western world has had accelerated advancement, and then the African world is just catching up. Next slide, please. Now, there is a lot of things we know about it, right from the medieval period, and then to the 15th century, then to the 19th century, and now to the late 20th, 21st century. Okay, sorry for my video. Okay, yeah, okay, all right, go on, next please. Now, the publishing challenges including power, gatekeeping access, inequality bias. As I said earlier, I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about what has already been said, but I'll just use a means to encourage and strengthen the younger ones as they go on. Let's go on, next slide. Now, power shapes decision, and we now find out that there are key actors, which are the commercial publishers, the editors, the reviewers, and the elite Ivy League institutions. Now we have the problem of the language of publishing, the topics and theories, the acceptable methods. Just go next, please. Now, gatekeeping access have been almost narrowed because of inflated article processing charges, high subscription fees for institutional access to publishing platforms and databases. Please, can you go on? Just go on. All right. We know about bias inequalities. The prominence of Western theories over global scholarship. They have the language, they control the data from their end. So the global academic and publishing landscape is experiencing gender, racial, and geographical inequalities, evidenced by lack of diversities and also limited recognition of indigenous knowledge and research. Please just go on next after I finish. Now, open science promised a lot, and the promises so that it improves access to knowledge, impact, visibility, speed of discovery, transparency, and collaboration. But the downside is that inadvertently open science have led to, as well as accentuated some of the problem and widening the inequalities is sought to solve. For example, and I won't go into details because for our time, we have the financial barriers. Now, high article processing charges limit publication opportunities, reliance on waivers not guaranteed, reinforces global inequality. We now have a situation where the predatory publishing, which early career researchers more vulnerable, pressure to publish, risk of exploitation, damage of academic credibility. Then we have weak peer review ecosystem. Some open platforms have minimized or inconsistent review, risks of disseminating flawed science, reduced trust in outputs from under-resourced regions. Then we have a situation of digital divide, unequal access to infrastructure and tools, limited internet bandwidth, repositories and data storage, barriers to sharing and accessing large data sets. Now, what I'm saying here is that open science has been good in one way, in that allows people to have access, but the gateway has also been narrowed because of cost, peer review issues, and also sustainability. Next, please. Next slide. Now, ethics. Well, we all know about ethics, and there's been weak infrastructure, funding scarcity, global publication hierarchies, and so on. Authorship abuse, plagiarism is common. AI has come in, and there have been ghostwritings, and indexing has been an issue. Data ethics, who retains the data and how the data are disseminated, and the sustainability of African journals. Please just go on. Now, I just want to talk a little bit about our journey before I now go to solutions. Next slide. Now, when I took over the West African Journal of Medicine over 8 years ago, we were not published for about 3 years. So we moved from stagnancy. We now started resuscitating the journal, then to survival. And then we started systemic production. We started by publishing about 3 times a year, 4 times a year. Then for the past 6 years, we have been publishing for 1 every month. And we hopefully that we'll move to significance and institutional level. Let's go. Now, the publishing process is easy, and as simple enough. Now, because it's in the West African sub-region, our goal is not just to either reject or accept, but also help younger ones to get enough feedback to push them. So there's manuscript subscription, then go through evaluation, assessment of reviewers, peer review processes, editorial team meets, we accept, then a certain group of people go through the manuscript itself, then production processes, then publication. Now, as of today, we are still publishing both the online version and also the hard copy, but although the hard copy is limited because some institutions want the hard copy. So this is just what has happened for us since we started 2018, 2 years not publishing, and then we are moving on to 2025, and we are now in 2026. That will be bailing out after 8 years this year. Go on. Now, just go on. Now, the academic publishing has helped humanity. Evidence-based decisions and policies have been very good. Knowledge preservations and advancement has taken place. Educational teaching and curriculum development. Solutions have been preferred to societal challenges as built institutions and nations. That has led to career advancement, both individuals and institutional. There have been visibility and peer ranking. Opportunities have come for collaboration. And then evidence, way to validate whatsoever a person published in any region and career fulfillment. And also it has also allowed industries to flourish. And then there have been breakthroughs in science. But the downside of publishing, I'm going to talk from the African context. Publications really lead to prosperity. You see, if a person starts as an academic, maybe at an early age of mid-20s or early 30s, and he keeps publishing, he doesn't actually become prosperous in terms of financial prosperity. Next. Publications do not always confer power in the way politics does. And you know that in the low-income countries, developing countries, power is everything. So if you publish, you have 300 or 400 publications all over the world. It doesn't actually give you that power, even in the university ecosystem or in the national ecosystem. Publications do not guarantee a pleasurable life after retirement. I've seen quite a lot of professors who are actually poor. Some are unable to get a house in spite of all they've spent in academics all the time. grants are very limited in terms of having these grants meeting their personal needs. It's just piped towards publication. The time invested in producing publication is often disproportionate to the outcomes. As an editor, I know what it is. Every day I receive calls, day and night I receive calls, peer review processes, people are angry, people want help, people are crying for promotion. They've been there in the system for so long. They're disproportionate in terms that you need to get your publication not only in local journals but international journals. And the people consider, well, I spent about 15 years or 20 years trying to ascend the career, to the height of my career. What are the outcomes? Our publications are often malign with the needs, are not misaligned with the needs of industries. Well, in the Western world, the industries push research in a way. They look at their needs, they ask the right questions, they want the answers, they sponsor research. But in most developing countries or low-income countries, industries do not participate actively in research, and so they don't fund it, although they have the benefit of those research. Publications do not always advance the knowledge most needed by society or industries. Well, it does in the Western world, but even if, for example, I give a situation in which we've done quite a lot of work in asthma, and we needed to get inhalers that will be easily affordable and available, but there are no industries to push it. And the industries that push it in the Western world maintain standards that also do not allow us to do this effectively. Even instruments for diagnosing various diseases have a lot of problems. Now, publications may result in promotions or positions, but they do not necessarily to financial stability. You know that as people begin to grow, especially in the Western world, everybody talks about money. Everybody talks about money. Everybody talks about money. You are introduced as a professor who has several papers. People want to look at your car. They want to see the shoe you ride. They want to see the house you live in. You come to your community where you live. People say, well, what does that have to do with your papers? They want to see whether you could distribute cars. Should that actually brings a big dilemma, a struggle between the editor or the aspiring young person trying to ascend the academic career and at the same time make ends meet. Now the question is, and I speak from what I've heard from many young people, because as the main convener told me, inspire the young people. They always ask this question: what does it profit a person to have many publications and yet do not have a good well-being? Why must I have my names in all the papers published and yet I cannot take care of myself? Now, we all know about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, that the basic needs of people is physical needs. They will now move on to safety needs, then belonging and love needs, then needs of self-esteem, prestige, and feeling accomplished. But the most important or the highest level of Maslow's hierarchy of needs is self-fulfillment. I want to be in a profession, I want to publish, I want to feel fulfilled personally, able to have creative activities, able to say, well, I've lived a good life. Now, if, for example, let's go back to the hierarchical needs. If, for example, I cannot meet my physical needs or have my safety needs met, but I feel fulfilled in a way that I'm successful. But if you look at the basic Maslow hierarchy of needs, if I can't meet my basic needs, I can't meet my psychological needs, I can't meet my self-fulfillment needs. So the question people ask, how will academics help me to bridge this gap between being well published at the same time find self-actualization? Next slide, please. Well, I feel, however, I want to say to the younger ones, there's still some hope. And the way forward, I've tried to prove into what I call down press. I'm going to look at the direction, attitude, mentoring opportunities, pursue your passion, run as a team, develop good work ethics, success and significance, impact, and sum it all. So the first one is direction. Next slide. Now, I think in your career as a publisher, whether in the university system or you're already in what do you call it, a publishing institution or any of these organizations that encourage publishing, you must always ask yourself, what is your direction? What is your life compass? What are you looking for? Slide, please. Over 20 years, 30 years ago, I drew this slide, and this has been something that has changed my life. And I tell people that, first of all, before you embark on the journey, you must be clear what you want to achieve. Now, I graduated from medical school at the age of 24. I'm 69 now. I started academic at the age of 30, and I've been a professor for over 2 decades. What do I want? What do I want to see myself at the end of my career? That's your vision. Then your mission. What are you supposed to be doing? Then the values, that you want to stand for, the values you hold on. It's not just being great and successful, what are your values? Then you should map out your strategies and goals. So if you enter a system, don't just enter into the pipeline to just do things without establishing before yourself, what do I want to achieve? What is the end point? And that will bring you to the Maslow hierarchical peak, where you have self-actualization and then self-fulfillment. Next slide. In a sense, you must see the big picture, not just the narrow point. The problem I see with many people who are publishing or in academic setting or institutions that encourage them to do research is that they separate their life from their work. They separate what gives them inner fulfillment from just the narrow dimension of just trying to publish things. So you must always have the big picture in your mind and put everything together. Now, it was the great Socrates that said the unexamined mind is not worth living. What I found out that people, I have a colleague of mine who has been a professor, published a lot, and one of these days we had an exam together, and he told me, I regret ever taking the academic line. I said, why? He said he finished from the best secondary school in the country by then, and then there was a colleague of his who also finished at the same time, and he had a very good grade, one of the best grades in that institution. But the colleague is now an owner of a bank, and he has all kinds of resources. I say he can barely survive. Now, I think that is why it's important whenever you follow academic to do what Socrates says, do the unexamined mind is not worth living. Then the next thing is attitude. I mean, the attitude you put into your work is so important. They say attitude determines altitude. And someone said attitude is everything. There are a few quotations on that. Can we go to the next one, please? Now, attitude is a mindset or a disposition towards situation. Attitude is a choice. It's not fixed trait. And sometimes attitudes could be developed over time. Attitude is a powerful predictor of success. And attitude is often contagious. It affects the people around you. If your attitudes are bad, it will affect everyone. Your attitude is your assessment of yourself, other people's ideas and objectives in life, in this world. Now, William James, I think this is one of the most powerful quotations ever made by any human being on attitude. Now, William James was an American parapsychologist, one of the greatest ones. He has been described as what Shakespeare is to Britain, William James and Emerson is to America. It's a human beings, by changing the inner attitudes of their minds, can change the outer aspects of their lives. So we teach young researchers have a good attitude. Start from afresh to ask yourself, what is your attitude towards what you are doing? Next slide, please. Now, William Stone, who is one of the early founders of the philosophy of attitude and positive thinking, says, there's a little difference in people, but that little difference makes a big difference. The little difference is attitude. The big difference is whether it is positive or negative. I mean, if you are pessimistic, if you don't feel happy, no matter what you do in publishing, will also affect the overall perspective of life. Then the next is M, mentors and opportunities, maximizing every opportunity. Let's go to the next slide. Now, it was Shakespeare that wrote, "There's a tide in the affairs of men, which taken at the flood leads on to fortune. Omitted, all the voyage of their life is bound in shallows and in miseries. On such a full seal are we now afloat, and we must take the current when it serves or lose our ventures." All through my career, I found out that opportunities have come, and jumping those opportunities make a difference. Now, in the meetings we had before of the what do you call it, the facilitators and the speakers, the facilitator for this session said, "Oh, we have a lot of research in respiratory medicine. Will you be ready to collaborate with us?" I mean, this is an opportunity. It's a tide in the affairs of men. And so a young researcher must look for those tides, must look for those floods, and must enter and get into it. Now, working with a mentor is so important because mentors help to calibrate you. They act as coach, they check you, they advance you. They also they make you accelerate faster as you climb through the apex of the profession. You see, I'm not always a candidate for speed, but I'm a candidate for being thorough. Sometimes people say that I've gone very fast. How far have you gone? Are you in the moon or in the sun or in the stars? So good mentors don't only encourage speed, they also encourage you to be thorough. And finding good mentors is important. But mentorship is not parasitic, it's symbiotic. So if you just want your mentor to do everything for you, you will miss it. Next slide. Now, Francis Bacon, we all know about him, one of the great scientists who was Lord Chancellor of England, says, "A wise man will make more opportunities than he finds." People want to see the opportunity. Sometimes opportunities is usually in in workloads. I'm here in the UK for some meetings, and when the host, which I consider one of the great women of our time, great institutional builder, whenever you mention her name, people know that she's a woman of caliber and timber and achiever. When she gave me this topic, it was actually out of my schedule because I have several things to do. But I look at it as an opportunity to encourage young ones, as an opportunity to stir people's mind. So opportunities sometimes may be tough and difficult and challenging, but jump at it. Who knows what it leads to? The great secret of success in life is for a man to be ready when the opportunities come. Now, Abraham Lincoln says, "I will work hard and be prepared, and when my opportunity comes, I will be ready." One man once said, "When one door closes, another opens." But we often look so long, so regretfully upon the closed doors that we do not see the ones coming open to you. You are rejected, your papers are rejected, you are removed from the faculty, you keep mourning your past, you keep regretting what has happened in the past. Why not move forward? The world is your parish, and you have many opportunities. Then P, I said, pursue your passion with perseverance. Now, let's go. The greatest person who has done one of the greatest people who have done a work is Angela Duckworth in his book Grit. And I advise every young researcher, middle researcher to read it. Now, Angela Duckworth described grit as perseverance and passion for long-term goals, firmness of character, indomitable spirit. And she did a lot of research, found that if you have ability, if you have good IQ, even you have good EQ, but you don't have grit, you are not passionate, you are not, you don't have indomitable spirit, you will not be as good as a person who has grit with low IQ or low IQ or lower EQ. And so in your profession, grit is important. And therefore, go to the next one. There are 4 rules of grit. Simply, you have an interest, you practice, you have a purpose, and you hope. So grit is something that tells you just keep pushing on, just keep pushing on, just keep working, and one day you will hit your target. Next. Now, this is a famous quotation. Angela, it says, He challenges the conventional wisdom that innate talent is the sole determinant of success. And then Doku says the word grit encompasses two things, passion and perseverance. And there's no way you in academic that or in publishing that these two factors are not predominant. Abraham Lincoln was a great person who practiced grit. He was one of the greatest American presidents. He had a high level of grit. He failed in business in 1931 and again in 1833. He was defeated for Illinois State Legislature in 1832. His fiancée died in 1835 and he had nervous breakdown in 1836. Go on. In 1843 and 1845, he ran for Congress and lost. He also ran for Senate aspirations and were no better, losing. He ran for vice president, he lost. His wife had a mental condition that manifested in mental and emotional instability. He buried two of his four beloved children, and yet, in 1960, he became American elected president. He became the greatest president America has ever known. Authors who were rejected but never stopped writing. Rejection to me is a feedback, and so you should never be discouraged. All of us know about J.K. Rowling. This is a woman who has published different books, and according to her, she was rejected by 12 different publishing houses. Yes, next slide. We saw the case of Stephen King. Stephen King is another person that was rejected 30 times. Frustrated, he threw the manuscript in the trash, but his wife, Tabitha, rescued it and persuaded him to try again. He sold 1 million copies in the first year. Then we saw Christie. This is a woman who has written a lot of novels. He spent 5 years receiving continual rejection. Her first manuscript was never published at all, but she refused to give up, writing a second novel, then eventually launching out to a legendary career. Then we saw Chicken Soup for the Soul. It has had different publications now. Jack Ganfield and Mark Hansen. They had over 144 publishers rejecting them over a long period, which eventually went on to span one of the best-selling book series in publishing history. Now, I won't bore you with a lot of all these names. And the reason I'm going to say that is why we publish. Now, in Africa, there are a lot of people who have had rejections. A lot of people who have done great work. But because they will not publish their work, because they will not talk about their work, they are highly cited by literature. And if you look at it, there are several people who have experienced rejection. All of us have experienced rejection in our career. And some of them can be mild, to being abusive, to me saying, look, go and do some English studies before you start your research. But don't look at it as something to discourage you. Now, Albert Einstein says, I'm thankful for all of those who said no to me. It's because of them I'm doing it myself. Now, Albert Einstein, when he started the law of relativity, had a lot of rejection, where he was mocked by his colleagues. But then he became the greatest physicist the world has known till now. Frank Crane says there are 3 rules for success. First, go on. Then second, go on. Then third, go on. Now, the next thing is to run in teams. Now, it's not just teams in terms of within your faculty, national teams, local teams, international teams. And that's why this program is really very good, because it has brought people from all over the world to think on publishing and making our works known and enhancing and educating the younger ones. And I also want to thank the facilitator and the host for all she has done towards building the young ones. Sir Isaac Newton said, if I have seen further, it is by standing on the shoulders of giants. I don't know of any really great person who is a solo person, who doesn't not attribute his greatness to the impact of a father, a mother, a colleague, a friend, or someone who didn't believe in him and somebody who did believe in him. So teamwork is important. Now, we know what teams are. Initially, for any team to be formed, you go through the period of forming, then you are storming, then you now go to the period of numbing, and then performance, and before you could either transit or terminate. So when people form teams, because teams in a sense help you to develop character, help your interpersonal relationship, allow you to see people of different culture, give you an international perspective of life, allow you to see people's need and go for it. So you don't become a low ranger, a man who sees himself only in his own mirror. So team sharpens, and makes you shine. Two men working as a team will produce more than three men working as individuals. Now, Andrew Carnegie, we all know about him. This was the man who has done a lot for Africa in terms of his research. And not his research because he has given a lot of money. He was a steel merchant, and his money still helping a lot of young indigent people all over the world. It makes a big step in a man's development when he comes to realize that other men can be called to help him do a better job than he can do alone. In all my career, anytime I'm faced with a job, I ask myself, is anybody who can do it better than me? I give that person. I delegate everything except the things that I can do only myself. Delegation is not relegation, but it's the best way to go forward. Now, the Holy Book tells us 2 heads are better than one because they have good return for their labor. C.S. Lewis, a very renowned literature expert, says 2 heads are better than one.
I am Rafayati, a PhD student from Raqqa.
But because they are likely to go wrong in the same direction. Go on, next. Now, the same thing with Richard Branson. We know about how great he is. He's Virgin Atlantic, and the same thing confirmed how working in the team is so important. Move on. Now, the next thing is to develop good work ethics. Because if you want to succeed, you have to develop very good work ethics. Now, let's go on. One of the greatest scholar on this, next slide. One of the greatest scholar on this, next slide, please, is a man who wrote about deep work. Now, doing deep work makes time for secret work out of view and without recognition and bills. Go on. Now, then the other person who talked about it was James Clear, who talked about atomic habits. Next slide, please. Now, in atomic habits, what the man essentially said that determination is not what makes you successful, it's the cultivating of the habits. And then, in order to get the habits ingrained, which later leads to success, you have to think about the cues, the craving, the response, and the reward. So in a sense, he's saying, don't just determine I want to write goals. Goals means nothing. Get habits that becomes ingrained in your system, and then that gets you to where you are. Now, Carl Newport was one that wrote a book on deep work, and his book focused on being successful in a distracted world. Let's look at this slide. And one of the big things about deep work is to work deeply, you must embrace boredom. Let me give you a very simple example. If you feel bored, the next thing people do is to scroll on their phone, is to keep reading their phone. But according to Newport, say, look, endure the burden. Don't just compensate by scrolling on your phone. Just enjoy it. Don't just go to social media. Just maintain that deep work out of sight. Spend time with yourself, block calendars, take a holiday somewhere else. I was talking to one of the greatest writers in Britain some years back, and I asked him, how has he been able to write several books? He said, I have 2 houses. I have one in London, I have one outside London. When I want to do anything big, I go to a place outside London. I'm only there and I can be there for weeks. So in order for you to do deep work, you must handle distractions. Go on. Now, look at the feedback of distraction. You resist the impulse. Then, if you look at the first slide here, now, if you have boredom, you immediately grab your phone, and that gives you some form of dopamine satisfaction. Give you short-term pleasure, and that reduces focus. Now, but rather than you resist the idea to take your phone by just remaining focused, and so you're able to enhance deep work, strengthen your mindfulness, and your tolerance grows, and you succeed. So Carport was actually encouraging us, don't allow boredom be relieved by the domain pleasure drive. Rather enjoy it and spend time on deep work. Study while others are sleeping, work while others are loafing, prepare while others are playing, and dream while others are wishing. That is what gave us this forum, because somebody studied while others are sleeping, somebody work while others are loafing, somebody prepared while others are playing, and someone is dreaming while others are wishing. Then the other thing is to assess your success. Now, you've been in publishing for a long time. How does your success become significant? Nowadays, in the world, we don't use the word success. We use the word significant, because success, passing an exam can be success, being promoted can be successful, but how impactful is it? Success is painstaking, it takes patience, but sudden rise can also lead to sudden fall. Go on. Move from success to significance. Go on. Success is about you. Significance is about your impact. Success is about ego. Significance is about empathy. Success is I. Significance is we. Success is what you have achieved, what you have achieved for yourself. Significance is what you have achieved for your community. Success may determine your affluence, but significance will determine your influence. Success is about getting, significance is about giving. Success is about gratification, significance is about greatness. Success had to do with your network, but significance has to do with your contribution. Success is centripetal, while significance is centrifugal. The whole essence of life is not what you can get out of it, or what you can give to it.
Prof, let's try to wrap up.
We're wrapping up soon. Then S is the sum it all together. Now, I think that in your career, you have to ask yourself, how do I maintain family, work life, education? So you must think holistically. You must get a balance between your work, family, and life. You must take time to recreate and regain a healthy well-being. Go on. And I always have this what I call the circle of life. Recently, I was a main speaker for the inauguration of sleep in Nigeria and some part of Africa. And I said, look, as common as sleep is one of the determinants of whether we will live long or we will die. Next slide. Next slide. My final thought is, what is your legacy? What do you want to be known for? What do you live for? What will you lose if you pursue this path? Are you ready to be the lone person pursuing what burns in your spirit? That brings us back to Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I think I can stop here now. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I think I was trying also to write notes, take notes on the presentation. I think it was very inspiring. While we start receiving questions on the Q&A, I'd like to ask you, Professor Irabo, for this important session on how do we stimulate our young researchers while maintaining those values and navigating into family hustles. Like us women, for example, we always have a problem of How do we publish? How do we get those time together while taking care of the children and also advancing in academia? Over to you, Prof.
Now, when I was very active in academia, I always reserve Monday, what I call meet the professors period. So we meet about 2 o'clock on Monday, and then we assess our clinical work, our research, our teaching in the context of our family system and our goals. So at that point, we don't actually discuss academic, but discuss how the academic is influencing our lives. Now, over the years, and I've had many of my students all over the world become great people, they tell me that the greatest thing they got from my relation with me is that meet the professor session, when we actually address his personal needs. So for a young career person, first of all, you must tell the person to always keep that in perspective. Then the person also must learn to work in teams. You don't ever succeed if you don't work in teams. Research is so big now that you can't just claim to be just one solo person. Somebody can help you with statistics, someone generate an idea, someone help you with logistics, so on. So you must get teams. Let them work out in teams. And then let them know how to close their diaries for certain period of their life. I remember when I was working in Britain, my boss, Saturdays, Sundays off. You don't call him for anything except he's on call. So let them learn to close up and get up. The problem is that when women are too aggressive to succeed after a while, they just start behaving like men. And so you now lose your feminine touch, your sweetness, because you want to compete in the world of men. And I used to tell people that sometimes some of them may just get side bumps and BS. I think just be a woman, be who you are, go on your feminine power, and get as much help from other women who have succeeded, and then you will succeed.
Thank you, Prof. I think this is really good advice. We will continue to be women, and while we are fighting this word on academia. So I have a question from Chris. He's asking, what is really the motivation in academic life, and how do I get there? Prof, can you share an example?
Yes, for me, you see, some years ago, I wanted to, after becoming a consultant, lecturer and everything, and I wanted to just leave medicine because I looked at the years I spent in medicine and I looked at how much I'm making. I was here in Britain then, that was in 1995, when one of my white colleagues says, why would you stop teaching? Teaching gives such a great satisfaction. It gives me a sense of well-being. And so, look, I can actually say that becomes one of the source of my strength. So because of that, I said I will go back and I will still continue my work as a teacher. I'll continue my work of feedback. Patient care is good. I enjoy patient care, but not as much as I enjoy teaching. So what I want you to realize that even in your path, if chosen, you can get all you want if you do it well. But what happens in many people who are pursuing academic, they just pursue without thinking of the other aspects of their life. They don't have any, they are so good in their research. As I used to say, they are research smart, but money dump. No. You must try to have some degree of sagacity as a goal of training on how to handle money, how to handle real estate, how to handle your lifestyle. Put all of them together and you will enjoy your life. But if you just want to pursue academically till I become a professor, till I become a prominent person, by the time you become a prominent person, you will not have enough energy to go any other thing. So right from day one, pursue your goal without leaving your life behind.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you very much. I think those are real life examples. I'm going to pick up the question from Christabel. Thank you, Prof. Throughout your presentation, you emphasize on discipline, deep work, persistence, and balanced living. In your experience, which of these factors has the greatest influence on long-term academic and professional excellence, and why?
Passion is important. If you ask me what makes greatness, I'll say it's number one, passion, number two, passion, number three, passion. You are going to meet ethnic problems. You are going to meet diversity challenge. You are going to meet people who don't like you, who hate you. You are going to meet racial problems in life. You are going to meet people who hate you, who dislike you. You are going to meet jealous people, envious people in life. But what can keep you going is you. What can keep you going is you. And that you is your passion. If you have that passion and believe that I am on a good cause, in spite of all these obstacles, so all these evil stones thrown at you, you build a greater edifice out of it. And all the criticisms thrown at you will allow you to spur you to greatness. But if your passion is wrong, if you don't have enough passion, so passion begets perseverance, and perseverance begets productivity. And that passion is what pushes you along. And then somebody can say purpose. And that if I go to purpose, I move into the area of existentialism to say, well, I believe I'm made for this. I believe I'm called for this. Now, when I was in school, people said I should go and do law. But I believe I wasn't called for law. My brother is a judge, my other brother is a lawyer. But I believe I'm called for medicine. So if you have this idea of calling, somebody said that your calling is what you are made for, and your job is what you are paid for. So purpose, passion, perseverance, productivity.
I agree with you. So I think I will just get one more. We have some offers here. Participants are asking how they can be involved in the West Africa Journal in terms of reviewers or editors.
Yes, would provide the details to the organizers of this. We really need peer review people coming from outside Nigeria, and that would be very good to join us in the board. And we can also provide our website link to the organizers of this meeting so they can have access.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, Prof. You know, when you were presenting, I picture myself when I started 20 years ago. And I think for me, you know, being a mother, a woman, a wife, also a leader was a problem to fit in the academic world. And I think having what you said at the beginning, the passion, the perseverance, and having a goal, it's made who I am today. And I think also the mentors and the people you work with, every single meeting, it's an opportunity for tomorrow. So I'd like to close there by thanking Professor Erbo for the presentation today. I think some keynote that I wrote down is really, keep the goal. Publishing is never neutral. You need to continue and perseverance in what you do. Ethics is one of the value that he also mentioned. Having the ethic in publishing, making sure that you work with scholars and also you work with the team, and also you close by looking at the whole circle of how you fit yourself into the family, the work, and the friends, so that you get a balanced life. I'd like now to invite Gordon for the next steps. Thank you so much. Everyone, please give a round of applause to our prof for this important reminder for life of who we are and how we can be where he is today. Thank you so much, Prof. Greg, for your session.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much for a very good moderating session. Thank you so much, Gordon.
Thank you. Gordon, I would like to give you back the mic. Thanks.
Thank you, Prof, for this very insightful session. I'm sure we learned a lot. So we now move to the next session, which is the oral presentations. The theme for the oral presentations will be centered around agriculture, food systems, nutrition, and biomedical innovation. I'd now like to invite our facilitator for this session, Dr. Munya Saruchera. Dr. Munya, over to you.
Hi, good afternoon, colleagues, and good morning, wherever you may be joining from, or good evening for that matter, wherever you may be joining from. And special greetings to fellow Africans, wherever you are also joining from. Thanks so much, Gordon. And yeah, thank you so much, Professor Konto. And yeah, what an invigorating session that has been by Professor Erabo. Mine is a very simple task this afternoon, colleagues, as we now go into the abstract session for this 2026 manual, manuscript writing hub, virtual conference. The session is on agriculture, food systems, nutrition, and biomedical innovation. And we've got 4 abstract presentations that will be coming in. Each one is strictly 5 minutes, colleagues, as already as I think has been briefed to the presenters. You all have 5 minutes each to make your presentation. And please just give us that hook, problem statement, as well as the methods in one statement. What is the one killer finding, as well as what is the action or recommendation that you are making, that you are drawing us to, as well as, finally, what is the take home message that we should be getting from, from what you are presenting. So thank you so much for this opportunity. So colleagues, this session is really all about understanding the complex and often very intimidating terrain that lies between, completed manuscript and the even shaped by a number of factors that range from journal hierarchies, article processing charges, to peer review politics that we probably all know about, and the growing demands of open science. So for African researchers, navigating this space requires more than just writing skills. It requires more than gift. It requires more than talent. It demands a lot more strategic intelligence and maybe academic enterprise, if I may add, about where to submit, how to respond to reviewers, when to push back, and when to concede. And then how then do you build a publication record that advances both personal careers as well as continental knowledge production? So this session brings several distinction contributions to the broader conference that started on Wednesday. It brings, it bridges the gap between the political critique that has been offered by, speakers like Abimbola on the epistemic justice, as well as just the concluded session here by Professor Gregory Erabo on the politics of publishing, as well as the practical and hands-on guidance that has been provided by skills, builders like Matthew Oluni on digital tools. So by hearing from all these from the different emerging researchers who have actually navigated these challenges, we hope that you'll be able to gain access to real-world case studies, cautionary tales, and replicable successes. So without further ado, colleagues, I will now go straight into the abstract presentation. We got 4 presenters, as mentioned earlier. I'm going to ask Najwa Kayati from Morocco to give us their first presentation that is looking at digital entrepreneurship and food security, reconfiguring rural and urban value chains in Morocco. Najwa, are you on the call?
Yes, I'm gonna share my screen.
Yeah, this is 1 minute to 3. We thank the previous session that we had some additional time there, but unfortunately, we are not going to extend your 5 minutes. It will be your 5 minutes. So over to you, Najwa, please. 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. So I am Najwa Khayati, PhD student from Morocco, and as you have said, I will present my research, which focuses on the link between digital entrepreneurship and food security. And so in Morocco, a farmer might sell a crate of tomatoes for 50 dirhams. By the time those tomatoes reach an urban market, the price has tripled. And the farmer did not get rich, the middleman did. And digital tools promise to change that equation. But let me tell you what nobody's talking about. While some communities grab this opportunity and run with it, others fall behind while having the same app on their phone. Let me tell you why, and let me tell you what we can do to change this. So the Moroccan agricultural value chain is structurally broken. Smallholders are cut off from urban consumers by a chain of intermediaries that extract margin at every step. And while research has confirmed that digital platforms can help, they increase price transparency, reduce information asymmetry, and cut out some of those middlemen. There's still a gap in both literature and policy. We cannot understand why the same platform works brilliantly in one community and why it completely fails in just 200 kilometers away. It is not because of the technology and not because of the price, but the answer turns out to be social and physical infrastructure. And that changes everything about how we should design digital agriculture programs. And so to answer that question, we conducted a comparative case study analysis across 2 Moroccan regions. And through a thematic analysis, 3 themes have emerged, but one contrast told the whole story. Same tools, opposite outcomes. In the Fes Meknes region, entrepreneurs who have embedded the digital platform into existing kinship networks saw real results, reduced time to market, limited the dependence on intermediaries, and a shift from subsistence to active market presence. Just 200 kilometers away in the Darata Filat region, entrepreneurs used the same platform. Some partial wins, order aggregation and remote price discovery, but scalability was blocked due to consistent infrastructure gaps and connectivity issues. And so the killer finding is this. Social embeddedness was the single most powerful predictor of whether digital adoption succeeded. Not the technology, not the price, but the social and physical infrastructure around the platform. And so what do we do with this? The recommendation is specific and it is actionable as of today. Stop making last mile logistics an afterthought. So for digital agricultural platforms to work, make sure to invest first in connectivity and infrastructure. For policymakers, make rural connectivity a prerequisite for digital agricultural funding, not just an optional add-on. For platform designers, do not build around kinship networks, build inside them. The trust infrastructure is there, so make sure to use it. And for donors and NGOs, make last mile logistics a conditionality of digital agricultural funding. And the lesson that we learned is this: build the road before you build the app. So if you are a policymaker who invests or who funds digital agricultural programs, ask your team this week, what is the last mile plan? And if there's no answer, then the platform will probably fail. We can fix this. The evidence says how.
All right. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Najwa, for that. I'm just trying to find my my video button there. So thank you very much, Najwa. So colleagues, we will have comments at the end after all the 4 abstract presentations have been made. And so from Morocco, we are now moving to the next project that is looking at food insecurity, dietary diversity, nutritional status of children in beneficiary and non-beneficiary communities of the growing project by Sadat Idrisu. Sadat, over to you based in Ghana, I believe, in Tamale, and you'll give your presentation in exactly 5 minutes. Thanks to Najwa, who did not take up the full 5 minutes. Over to you.
All right, thank you very much for the opportunity. As you mentioned, my name is Sadat Idrisu, from a graduate student from the University for Development Studies, and I'm to present on the topic, the impact of an agricultural intervention on food insecurity, dietary diversity, and nutritional status of children in the Northern Ghana. So what is the problem here? Over the years, malnutrition has been a global challenge, though there have been strategies put in place to mitigate this situation. Ghana, particularly the northern region, has been embedded with malnutrition. As it stands now, according to the Ghana Demographic and Health Survey, about 30% of children are stunted. Also, household food insecurity and poor dietary diversity is widespread. So what can we do to fix this? So our question now here is, can nutrition-sensitive agricultural intervention change this narrative? Then give us the opportunity. The Growing Project, which was implemented by the International Potato Center in collaboration with Care Ghana in 2022, which was supposed to last for 6 years, from 2022, 4 years, from 2022 to 2026. The project was aimed to reduce food insecurity and malnutrition in rural communities in 3 regions of Ghana. That's the Savannah region, Northern region, and Northeastern region. And it was implemented in 6 districts across all these regions. This project, it works by combining climate smart agriculture, nutrition education, women empowerment, and the promotion of various crops, including orange flesh sweet potato, legumes, papaya, and moringa. So what did we do? We conducted a community-based comparative cross-sectional study among 658 mother-child pairs across 2 districts in the northern region where the project was implemented. We used a multi-stage sampling in combination with purposive sampling to sample this number of mother-child pairs. What did we find out? We found out that participation in the Growing Project lowered household food insecurity by 71%. Also, it lowered stunting by 56% and underweight by 51%. And also, it lowered wasting by 52%. It also increased dietary diversity among children and mothers. However, there was no significant association between participation in the project and the minimum acceptable diet of children under 2 years. So now what does this tell us? So this is informing us that nutrition-sensitive agriculture, such as the Growing Project, can improve household dietary diversity, household food insecurity, and then child malnutrition. However, when it comes to the minimum acceptable diet of children, there is the need for stronger support in that regard. What's the call to action? So based on these findings, we recommend that the scaling up of this institutionalization help reduce
It looks like we are losing you.
And development goals, let's go to zero hunger and then go 3. Hello.
No, you can proceed to that. It looks like we were losing you a little bit.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay. So
you got a minute to go.
All right. We are calling on government and policymakers to institutionalize this project of this kind into the policy and also strengthen child feeding practices. What's the take-home message? So you all have to remember that investing in nutrition, especially among children, is also investing in the future. Thank you.
Right. Thank you so much for that, Sidati. I think I'm not too sure if it was from my end or from your end. At some point it was freezing or we're losing you. I'm not too sure if that might have been everybody, but thank you so much, especially for sticking to time. And I hope we didn't lose much from the moments the presentation was hanging there. We now move to the 3rd presentation, and this is going to be by Sola Peter Ogunmodele from Nigeria. Please take the mic and can give us your presentation. Strictly 5 minutes. Thank you, Peter.
Good day, sir. I'm unable to share my screen. I don't know. Oh, okay. Not me.
Sorry, Auditori, you were coming last. I think, sorry, we are going to Peter. We'll come to you. because I think we got your confirmation much later than after it already lined up. You'll come after Peter if that is fine. Peter, you may take the floor. Take the mic.
Okay. I don't know if you can hear me.
I can hear you from my end. I hope everybody else can. Over to you, Peter.
All
5
right,
minutes.
sir. Let me share my screen. My screen went off. I have asked if my screen can be shared for me.
Did you share the slides with the team at SAA?
Yes, I've shared my
Emmanuel
slide
and
before now.
Gordon, are you able to help with the slides there for Peter? He's listed as number 4 on the program, but he's speaking number 3 now. Colleagues from the Society for AIDS in Africa, are we getting help from there with regards to Peter's slides?
Yes, we are sharing the slides.
Thank you. Peter, there you go. Over to you. Peter, we cannot hear you if you are speaking.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, but we were losing you earlier on, and I think we are losing our time. Can you speak again, just so that I can hear you?
All right, can you hear me now?
I can hear you. Great.
All right, now, good afternoon. My name is Ogmade Deshola, and while we talk about industry, Africa is usually known as consumers, especially when it comes to biotech industry. And this is because we literally depend on Western world for the things we need for the industry. But beyond that, Africa, I believe, has a lot of bio potentials that has to do with industry in its soil. So that is what the study of Neurospora Crassa has opened our eyes to see. 2 strains from the standard lab in US and 1 Nigerian strain isolated in Ogun State was the main focus of this study. And we come to understand, based on this study, that there are a lot of hidden gold in African soil that have not been tapped. And these hidden gold show us that we have a lot of untapped biodiversity. We have very local advantage, and also there is a need to move our focus. The ecosystem of Africa is really, really full of a lot of treasures harbored in it. And the environmental condition of Africa is also contains a lot of treasures, giving capacity to African strains for better yield and for resilience. Now, this is what this study is bringing to us. It is time for us to move from importing to discovering new and very high industrial potentials that will move to the global market. The study was carried on in University of Lagos Research Center Lab, and on slide 3, please go to next slide. And on a different kind of sugar, it shows that this locally isolated strain grew 19% above all other the 2 other strains from the standard lab in US. And also in biomass production, it also shows that this gave a higher biomass both on glucose and on sucrose, giving us an advantage. And even on all these 5 sugars, carbon salts that was used for this study, the locally isolated Neurospora crassa strain actually show a good yield of biomass, showing that this strain can survive both on monosaccharide and on disaccharide. And finally, on the mating type, it shows that this strain has capacity to be engineered by crossing with other kind of strains because of the mating type. Now, what is this implication of this result? Number one of the implications of this result is that this strain can be used in buffer innovation due to
You got
the
30 seconds to go, Peter.
Sir?
30 seconds to go.
All right, sir. And also, it shows that we can leverage on this by reducing the importation of strain. Now, what is our recommendation? Number one, Africa should have a strategy that can give a pipeline not only to identify, but to characterize and to keep in bank all these high yield strain that can be used for further studies and that can be used in industry. Then we should fund transitional research, not just laboratory discovery, but also to be able to translate what is discovered in the laboratory into the industry. It is our time as Africa to look into our land and bring a solution. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you so much for that. And sorry for the earlier technical glitch there. Aditoro Osanimbi, also from Nigeria, you can take the mic now, please. You've got exactly 5 minutes. Over to you, Sister Aditoro.
Thank you, sir. Good day, sir. I'm unable to share my screen here. I don't know why.
If you shared it with the colleagues at the SAA Secretariat, there it is. And
okay.
Thank you so much. Yeah, over to you.
Yes, here is it. Thank you very much. Good afternoon. And I'll be speaking on the synthesis of a new thienopyridine derivative, BCT, and its in silico activity against ischemic stroke. Now, imagine you being a clinician who is forced to choose between options that will actually pose a threat to your patient's life, or you being the patient that is forced to choose between options that carries a threat to your life. Ischemic stroke, as it is one of the global leading cause of death, and its preventive measure presently involves a dual antiplatelet therapy, combining aspirin with clopidogrel. And of course, this dual therapy works effectively, highly effective. However, it comes with some terrifying catch, which poses some severe side effects. And one of it is the gastrointestinal bleeding that occurs, which can lead to hemorrhagic complications and result to death. So as it stands, we always want the stroke survivors stand between making a choice between a clotting risk and a bleeding risk, which is not supposed to be, because we need to help them. Now, the question is this: what if we do not have to compromise? What if we do not have to do this dual therapy? So I sat down and looked at it. I looked at the clopidogrel flaws, because clopidogrel is a prodrug that needs hepatic enzyme conversion, which makes only 15% of the drug to be available for the metabolic activities. So I looked at the drug and then I modified it, changed some of its functional groups to see if it can actually interact better with the target receptor, which is actually the receptor that is responsible for platelet aggregation. From the findings I conducted, after modifying the drug to get BCT, which is a novel compound, I then looked at the computational, I used computational study to observe and to see the in silico activities of this drug with the receptor, with the target receptor. And from my findings, it was demonstrated that BCT, which is the novel compound, interacts better with the receptor. It binds better, it has a better binding affinities when compared to clopidogrel because of the modifications that has been done to the structure of the drug. From the results, it shows that the ADMET tox properties that was conducted on this particular drug, on the novel compound, shows that it has the ADMET tox properties predicted 100% human oral absorption, and also it obeys the Lipinski rule of 5. and that also clopidogrel does properly, and it makes it a potential drug candidate for further biological validation. So the molecular docking studies that was done on it show that it formed halogen bond. It has halogen bond interaction with the receptor, and also it has pi-cation interaction with the receptor. These interactions helps the compound, the novel compound, to bind, to have a better binding affinities, and also to provide a stability, to provide an affinity to allow the interface of the receptor to bind properly for a well delivery drug system. After this findings is done, then what is needed? What is the action that is needed? What we need to do is for the World Health Organizations, the regulatory bodies, and the policymakers to help reduce the burden of the healthcare people, so that the single molecule alternatives, single molecule therapies can be used as alternatives to the drug therapies because of the side effects, the complications, secondary complications that comes with this, with the drug therapies. And also,
1 minute to go, Editor.
You need to ask yourself, are you a survivor or a researcher or a clinician or an individual that is hoping for a better tomorrow? If so, then we need to come together and balance the risk. We need to come together and stop balancing the risk that come with these drug therapies while we start engineering the cures. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you there, Editor. You will excuse me for holding very tightly to the time that you each had. It was very deliberate, colleagues. This 5 minutes, rapid fire format is good training actually for pitching to policymakers, to journal editors as well as funders who make decisions very quickly, and so every second must count. Thank you very much for that, colleagues. So, colleagues, now given that this session is 55 minutes and we are 22 minutes already into the session, the remainder of the session will now be for questions and answers, for comments and appreciation as well for those who may have those. We will welcome those for those of you who might want to appreciate, but also on the comments, I am going to look at some of the comments that I see here. There was one from Christiana. This was really about couldn't take the attendance. I'm not too sure what that other one was complaining about, echoing of the audio. To the second speaker, who please tend to say them by name, but I think I know who you mean. Those who are talking about the second speaker, which I think is the brother from Ghana. Thank you for your presentation. Based on your findings, how can countries sustainably integrate nutrition-sensitive agriculture interventions into national systems while ensuring that the most vulnerable children and households are not left behind? So the colleague from Ghana, please do make note of that. Then Peter, what is the comment that says, good day, everyone, thanks for a good presentation, Mr. Peter. Please, what is the full meaning of IYN65? I think those are the comments that I can see here. I don't know if there are other comments, colleagues behind the scenes, if you may help me. These are the last comments I think that I've seen here. Are there any further comments? Otherwise, if not, we can have the brother from Ghana responding to that first comment, and then Peter responding on the full meaning of IYN65. So the brother from Ghana, please go ahead and help us with the response to the question there. How can countries sustainably integrate nutrition-sensitive agriculture interventions into national systems whilst ensuring that the most vulnerable children and households are not left behind? Over to you, to the brother from Ghana.
All right. Thank you very much for the question. So to ensure that these nutrition intervention, sensitive interventions are integrated into the national systems, various implementing partners during the implementation process should collaborate with government officials or policymakers during the implementation process, so that this
I think connectivity is a problem, so that it seems to have dropped again there. Colleagues in the webinar, can you hear me? Somebody please just say yes or show up.
Yes,
So
we can hear you.
We can hear you.
Thank you. Then it shows it's not from my end. Siddharth, can you hear us? Okay, maybe we could use this opportunity for Peter to answer the question on what is IYN 65 while we wait for Siddharth to come back, if he comes back.
Thank you for that question. IYN65 is a code given to the Nigerian strain, Neurospora crassa strain that was isolated in Nigeria, Ogun State. It's the code given to the strain. Yes, sir.
All right, thank you so much there, Peter. Siddharth, are you back? Nope. There's an appreciation there from Sister Florence, I think. I'm assuming this is Sister Florence, who says, thank you for a well-deserved oral presentation, delivered oral presentation. This has built my confidence in
sorry, I
readiness for
had
my oral
internet
presentation
issues
in Royal College. Is that Siddharth? Okay. So thank you so much there, Florence. We have noted your appreciation. I thought I saw another comment. For some reason, I'm not able to get to the next comment after that. This is also playing up here. I'm not too sure what could be going on. Siddharth, can you hear us? Are you able to come back? You had dropped off, apparently. You can unmute, Siddharth. Colleagues operating behind the scenes. There was a comment after Florence's comment, but from my side, it has disappeared here under the Q&A.
Yes, I can hear now.
Sorry, the
Okay,
comment was
Siddharth,
directed to me, so I already answered the person.
Toro, when did you answer the question? Toro, I think I might have lost you there. What was the question?
The question is that what spectroscopic, okay. The question asked was that what spectrochemical analysis was done to characterize the variant drug? And I answered the person that it is NMR and IR spectroscopy. I tested it inside the chat box. So that was
all right.
The third section.
Now we're going to give you the opportunity to speak in case others are not following it on the chat per se. But that is fine. Thanks, Toro, for that. Siddharth, please, can you come back? I recall you had not finished your in your response. Siddharth? It looks like we might have dropped. We might have dropped again. Any questions that colleagues you may have, please do so by raising your hand. You don't necessarily have to type. You can also speak. Yes, Siddharth, I heard you now. Are you back?
Yes, I'm having internet connectivity issues.
Yeah, it's defeating the virtual conference aspect now. We thought we were cutting out costs to meet somewhere, and connectivity remains an area I think to be researched and invested in. But anyway, over to you, Siddharth. You can complete your response.
Yes, can you hear me now?
I hear you very well.
Okay, so I was saying that in order to successfully implement these nutrition sensitive interventions into the systems so that the vulnerable children will not be left behind, the various implementers of these nutrition interventions should collaborate with policymakers just at the beginning of the intervention so that they will be aware of what they are doing, and they can also help share their thoughts in how they can help in making these interventions work properly. So I think the best answer to give is through collaboration with national policymakers. That's how these interventions can be instituted into the national policies. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Siddharth. Colleagues, I saw there those who have been able only to join us today, the likes of Winnie, they are appreciating the opportunity. Najwa, there was a question, were there any differences in literacy levels between the two study locations? Najwa, over to you. At the same time, Najwa, I think another question you might need to answer at the same time is that internet access was another barrier to digital uptake for the second study site. How can this be addressed in addition to the road access? So Najwa, you've got those two comments, those two questions. Please take the mic.
I'm sorry, can you please repeat the first one? I didn't get the first question.
Not too sure which one is the first one. It says, were there any differences in literacy levels between your two study locations? That is the first
In
question.
literacy?
Literacy levels, were there different literacy levels between the two study locations?
Okay. And
The
the second one is about?
It's about internet access. That you said was another barrier to digital uptake for the second study site. How can this be addressed in addition to the road access?
Okay, so for the first question about the differences in literacy level, actually, we haven't observed a major difference in literacy levels because the samples that we have selected did have the same characteristics. So the education level as well as the vocational training that these people had were pretty similar. Okay, so that's for the first question. The second one, internet access, and is also a barrier, and does it also affect digital uptake? So for internet access, it wasn't really a major problem, I think, in the first site because it was close to markets. But for the second one, because it's an oasis-based region, there were some connectivity issues. And it did affect the digital uptake. And I think that through the recommendation, we have our recommendation was to invest not only in logistics, but also in social embeddedness. So we were able also through the kinship networks to use very basic applications such as WhatsApp or other applications in order to make the access to markets more simple for those kind of people. Thank you.
Right. Thank you. Thank you, Shukran, Najwa. There was a question. I wasn't sure if it was for you. Editor, it was, please, which drug is BCT? Is it commercially available now? Colleagues who are posting questions, may I request that you indicate which presenter you are addressing with your questions? It will help us in terms of allocating the question and also just for your own communication, I'm sure. Then Tulope is saying, good day to all presenters. It was good researches which should be brought into real life world. Exactly, this is part of the intention of the session. We'll be speaking to it as we close. Then editorial, what is the meaning of BCT? I'm sure that is the one that was being addressed to you. What were the clinical subjects? Who were the clinical subjects for your research? A great work, I must say. Editorial, please, you can take that question. All the presenters, they say it was amazing. Editorial, is that a question you answered? Those two questions?
No, not at all, sir. It was
if you may answer those, please.
Okay, yes, thank you. The BCT is just the code for the novel compound that was modified. The results, the novel compound that was formed from the modification of clopidogrel. So it is 2,2-bromophenol, 5-chlorothiophenol, 2-yle, 2-ethylthiophene, 2-yle methyl aminoethanol. So just to bring it short, it's BCT, and it is not yet commercially available. Before a drug can be commercially available, it has to go through different studies, clinical, preclinical studies, and we have not gotten to that particular we've not gotten to that particular stage. So it is not yet available because it has not undergone those preclinical studies.
Okay.
Thank you.
And who were the clinical subjects for your research? That is the second part that I was hoping you'd get to.
Okay, like I said, it has not gotten to that stage. The patients, I studied ischemic stroke. So if that is the question, if I'm I studied ischemic stroke. So it's for stroke survivors, stroke patients.
That's my understanding of that. Thank you, Editor.
And
some appreciation there from Temitope, who says, thank you so much for the oral presentations. Mr. Editor, I'm interested in your work. So you may, not only does this hub bring people, academy, bring people together, but also you connect and, appreciate and be able to take this up in networking. Kindly share the presentations. That is chrismana@gmail.com. I think if you have registered with the Society for AIDS in Africa, that have been managing the communications and the whole conference, they should be able to share and to be able to give you whatever you're asking for. That has been noted. Are there any further questions and further comments? You allowed colleagues to take the mic for those who might have. Somebody says next week, the next time they'll share their work as well. Exactly, the 2027 Manuscript Writing Hub coming up, Sister Winnie or Lucha. There will be 2027, and so please get ready and knock their socks off here when we come back in 2027. Rachel Titus, thank you. Say great and eye-opening presentations. Hope they've not only opened your eyes, but our minds as well. Haruna Habu, it says, I wish to appreciate the presenters and the organizers. Thank you, Haruna, for that, for the appreciation. Presenters, you are being appreciated. All right, the Sakinatu Umaru says, thank you. Yeah, it looks like there are no further questions, but really, I think appreciations that are coming through there. And if there are any hello?
Yes, Dr. Moore, I could ask a question.
Yes,
yes, for the study conducted in Morocco. I mean, very interesting, really, really interesting. And I think it's one of the key issues that have affected the agri sector for a number of time and for years. I remember I studied the same thing when I was doing economics in secondary school. Don't ask me how many years back. My question actually is, can the finding be applicable beyond Morocco? How well do you think we can take this without replicating your study, but go ahead and implement it, whichever part of Africa we want to apply this? Thank you. Over.
Prof. Morenike, if I'm hearing you, you are saying, at which other part of Africa can this study be applicable, right? And
yes, so I'm asking based on our own projection, do you think what we found in Morocco can only be applicable to North Africa? Or is it possible that beyond North Africa and beyond Morocco, the findings are applicable? What do you think might be the difference per region? Thank you, sir. Over.
Thank you, Prof. Morenike. Naja, I think we are testing your knowledge of the continent here. Did you hear the question?
Yes, thank you for your question.
Let's show us how much you know of the continent. Where else could this be applicable, be it in North Africa or the other sub-regions of the continent?
Okay, so the structural dynamic that consists of digital tools being supported by social and physical infrastructure is actually not unique to Morocco. It has been documented before in several countries, both in Africa and in Southeast Asia. And our recommendations, so the specific interventions that are related to last mile logistics and social embeddedness can perfectly be not perfectly, but can be transferable to other low connectivity rural contexts. Of course, if the trust community structures and the kinship networks are present. So the mechanism might be different, but the principle holds, I think, in other contexts, especially African contexts, because I think there's some closeness.
Right. Thank you for that, Najwa. Prof. Morenike, did you get the response there?
Yes, I do. Yes, thank you.
Thank you. I see. Looks like we probably have further comments here. Yeah, the rest, I think, Tentai Yokai Mokore is just saying, job well done, organizers, presenters. Thank you for that. Thanks for the opportunity to drink from the various wells of knowledge. It says Ibuumi, and well done to the presenters, Africa to the rescue. Very much. Thank you so much there for that. Is it Oidamola? That is, your comment there. I think indeed, I think for us, you know, I might not have said this in the beginning. I chose to say towards the end that just really a reminder that African research should not just be about identifying problems. It should be about generating solutions that the world needs, and more importantly, what that Africa needs. So we hope that through this, you know, the presentations and through this conference and various other platforms, we would be able to then do that. Because part of this session's objective to also, you know, showcase, I think, you know, African-led solutions, not just African problems. And hopefully the presentations, you know, have moved us beyond the deficit narrative of what is missing, which is often and usually the case. Sorrow, I see you've got a comment. It says, even though I've attended day one, I didn't get the survey through my mail, please. Please kindly consider my attendance of day one too. All right, Sora, I think the organizers, I mean, the colleagues behind the scenes have taken note, but let's enjoy the session meanwhile. And instead of worrying about these other things, they will be taken care of if we put it in the chat. Osaritini says here to get the survey questions, and they are putting there. People are seemingly worried about the survey more than enjoying the session here, Gordon. But they will. I'm sure Gordon and colleagues will help us to answer. Ibiwumi, thank you for the opportunity to drink from the. I think we saw that comment earlier on. So anyway, colleagues, I was saying that this session was also sitting right at the intersection of two urgent truths. Africa cannot wait for external solutions to its food and health challenges. And African research is already producing homegrown innovations that deserve global visibility. So that is really the point. And I think it was quite deliberate for us to have this very broad session focusing on agriculture, food systems, nutrition, and biomedical intervention, very deliberately broad, so that because the real world problems that we study do not respect the disciplinary silos. A child's malnutrition is not just a nutritional problem. It is an agricultural value chain problem. It is a food systems problem, and sometimes a biomedical, you know, innovation problem. Sometimes also even issues of inequity. You can have one country producing a lot, but you'll find 20% eating for 80% of the population, and 80% of the people eating 20% of what is produced. And those others, you know, and others throwing the food away, whilst others do not get by. So there's a number of issues here, I think, if we look at it from a complexity and a transdisciplinary perspective. So we hope that we have, you know, through in a very small way, through the session, have managed to achieve that, and indeed to showcase, you know, African-led solutions, and of course, you know, trumping the deficit narrative of what is missing there. Tolupe said, good day to our presenters. Good research is. I thought I saw this earlier on. I'm wondering if there are any further. What remains is unity for African researchers to speak with one voice, says Mary Maria Musisi. I don't know if I would agree there. We may not necessarily speak with one voice. Then I think it ceases to be research. It becomes a church, I think, where we'll be singing one hymn. But I think for people to engage, doing the work and, you know, engaging, we might have different perspectives. And that is the whole purpose, I think, of scholarship, the whole purpose of, you know, research. And then we see, you know, what wins the day, as long as you are able to scientifically prove, you know, on terms and, you know, in our own sciences. So, but I think the message is clear. I get it that you are calling for unity. And I think this is just one example through this, you know, this virtual conference, African Voices for Transdisciplinary Research. It's us coming together and doing things and making the music and spreading the love, I think, so to speak. So, but thank you, Mary, for that, Mary Maria Musisi. Any further comments?
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Muya. I enjoyed listening to your summary, and I see that we have about 15 minutes left. Maybe we could just do a few engaging discussion about what does this mean. One of the things I see we've seen at this conference is the large number of Africans that have been here. I think we should do a little more just beyond attending the conference, but seeing and engaging across with participants who have presented. I'm sure the senior persons who made keynote address or skills building session will be very, very pleased to actually engage with us. please don't ask the organizers for their contacts because we don't know where to get you. You saw the name, you saw the issues, Google them, look for them and introduce yourself. You heard this, you want to ask questions. I can assure you 1,000% that they are very much invested. But Google Dr. Muya and ask him, oh, you said this. It's likely, very unlikely that he would not reply. You did listen to speakers who presented their work. Write to them and say, look, we need to start creating the South-South collaboration. I am doing this and you are doing this based on transdisciplinary research. Can we join hands across the continent and do this? This is the purpose of this platform. And we would like to hear in another next year to see you present based on what this platform has otherwise created. I think this is the way we would really want to see things go. A conference organized for Africans for Africans. I don't know what you think, Dr. Munye.
You just denied us one thing. Would have loved to see your face, Professor Morenike, as you spoke. I know your voice, even if I hear it in the dark, but I think for some people who don't know you, I'm lucky I know you already, and you know, I've been bitten by the bug. So this is Professor Morenike, colleagues, that you are hearing, and also the big brains behind this. And you know, I really wouldn't say, I don't know what to say, but Professor Morenike, you know, you may want to say more. But otherwise, in terms of what you're saying, I would like to maybe a rallying call for me to action would be that let us not wait for next year, this time, when, or whatever time that we have the virtual conference again. I think let's speak after this, Professor Morenike. My thinking is that maybe this could be taken to the sub-regions. And then the sub-regions have their own sub-regional Pan-African level conference, where if we come together in Southern Africa or in North Africa, we have a Northern Africa virtual conference that fits into this. And then that way we spread the fire, we begin to really have a lot more people coming into the network. And those who may miss the regional ones, then they can always come to the premier ones, the mother of all the conferences, which is this one that happens at this time. Over to you, Professor Morenike, on that thought.
Yeah, I think we're already talking about that. Immediately, I was going to write you immediately after this that we can't wait to one more week to start planning, that we have to do this because it's a short time, so we should start getting this rolling. I think for those that are on the platform listening to us, this is the vision that before next year, May, it's the same dates in the last 2 years. So definitely next year, the main conference will still be May 20th to 22nd. But if you're interested in being part of this regional meeting dream, I think you can indicate it. Definitely, we're moving ahead already with the South African angle, or rather South African hosting Southern Africa. So if you're thinking of anything in other regions, please support. One of the regions that might be a little bit complicating, but we can see that we've tried to overcome a language challenge might be Central Africa, where we do have not only French, but Portuguese, I think. But once we have partners, we can definitely overcome. I think that for me is it. Over to you, Muya. Any other thing before I say one last thing before we close? Yes.
Thank you, Professor Morenike. Yeah, look, I think this is already an institution as far as I'm concerned. It may not have walls, but it does indeed, I think, represent the institution that we need. And I think any other activities that I think we can always think through. Najwa, I'm very interested in your study. I'm going to Google you up. I sometimes spend time in Rabat, but I'm quite keen to find out a little bit more about your study. Professor Morenike, I'm thinking other activities we could have. They might be webinars. I think in between it might not be a lot, but things that just keep us connected, and then also to continually spread the information about the academy, the hub itself. Then it will fit into the regional events that will happen. The language barrier, I understand it, I appreciate it. We will see once we get to that. I think the intention is so pure, and the intention for me is just really so important that somehow we may be able to shift and or to export our brothers in Mozambique here in Southern Africa that we are close to, and they can help us and organize themselves with Central Africa. and redraw the borders. What is Central Africa today in the context of this Central Africa at all? We are one Africa as far as I'm concerned. And then we just see how we group and how we can get this going, because I think we shouldn't leave anybody behind. Back to you, Professor Monica, for any concluding remarks.
Yes, I think there's one of your participants wanted to say something. If there's anybody, I think one of, yes. Sorry. But ahead of that, yes. Ahead of that is to note that, yes, we do have platforms throughout the year. Manuscript Org is doing trainings throughout the year. So you would receive on your thank you letter a link to join the platform so that you can engage. And what you do is not just training. We train throughout the year. It's 1 week after the other. Tomorrow we're going back to the team. On Saturday we're going. I think this evening we have a session with training undergraduate students who are running research clubs. And then Saturday we have early careers. We have 2 more weeks to conclude on the 8 weeks training. So we're running training every single day, every single Saturday. So you'll be getting the links. I think if you look in your chat box, you'll see a link now. But in the thank you message that you will all receive, you will also see the link. But to note also that like we have been saying in this conference, Africa would only have to speak for itself. This conference is very peculiar in its way. It's combined, because we know we're dealing with early career researchers, it combines skills building. Every single presenter had skills building on what it means to pitch. They had about 3-4 different reviews of their abstracts, and then it kept coming back. So it's very peculiar. We're addressing our need, and we want to join forces to continue to do this. On that note, I would want to say thank you, Dr. Muya, and I hand over to you. Hopefully, your participants, if they have one word to say before we close. Over. Bye.
Thank you, Professor Moranica. We appreciate you. And my brother Matthew there, I don't know if you're one of the skill builders and one of the highlights of this conference. You have got anything to say before? I think I still have 3 minutes for my session. I'm just using the time equal and maximally before I hand over. Over to you, Brother Matthew.
Okay, thank you very much. I think I want to pick up something from what Professor Moranica just said. Africa should start speaking for itself. Very, very critical. Because at the end of the day, even in the world of tech, you discover that most developments are made based on a particular geographic location, a particular population, which is not African. I remember one of my friends trying to build a particular solutions, and at the end of the day, we could not get enough data to train that particular model because they were not available. So Africa should start speaking for itself in all areas. That's very critical. Let me just stop at that. Thank you.
Thank you. I think that I see the resonance in that, and we are seeing it also in some of the leaders around. They say it in different ways. The president of Ghana, for example, and many others that I think one can cite. And even some of the challenges that we tended to have sitting in South Africa, and I know xenophobia, I would not want, I call it actually Afrophobia. I wouldn't want to tiptoe around it. It isn't an issue. These are problems that I think we have to address head on, and then we build understanding and solidarity. And I think it can only come this. While the virtual conferences will continue, in my view, and they'll cut, I think, the cost of traveling. I do hope that I think in some point we may still have an in-person conference that, that also brings in a certain level of, of connectivity and solidarity as we do, and having the skills builders like you, Brother Matthew, on our shows in the future, one-on-one, collectively, continentally, regionally. There's a lot more that we could be doing, and we can be able to take it from there. I don't know if there are any other questions or comments. I've got 1 minute before I hand back over. My session is just coming to an end in the next few seconds, I think. If there are no more questions or comments, I'm happy to hand over back to you, Gordon, and the colleagues at the Society for AIDS in Africa Secretariat in Accra. Thanking you very, very much and profoundly for the support and all the back, room operations that are going on, and people not realizing how much work you are doing. Some of us are seemingly very techno-savvy, but that has been made possible by the colleagues sitting in Accra, and I'm sitting in Cape Town, but they're making it look very easy and I'm not as techno-savvy as I seem or as I sound, But thanks to you, Gordon, and team at the Society for Western Africa Secretariat Office. Back to you. Brother Leader, Brother Gordon.
Thank you, Dr. Amunya, and thank you to all our oral presenters. We now proceed to a 5-minute break. As you can see on the screen, this is the survey for today, day 3. So we're encouraging all participants to take advantage of this 5-minute break to scan and fill the evaluation form. We will start the next and final session in the next 5 minutes. The skill building session, leveraging digital tools to support manuscript writing, for which we have the presenter as Matthew Oluwayini, and our facilitator for the session, Dr. Tayo Owoye. So kindly take advantage of this 5-minute break to fill the evaluation. We start the next session in the next 4 minutes. Thank you. One minute more. All right, so it's time. So I now call Dr. Tayo Owuye to take over the session.
Thank you so much, my brother. I hope we are all doing well. I can see over 300 participants here today. You're welcome from everywhere in which you're joining us from today to the 2026 Manuscript Writing Hub Academy. And today, this is the last session, and I'm sure you are here to get your hands dirty, because when we're talking about skill building, it's about getting our hands dirty, and we are talking about leveraging digital skills tools to support manuscript writing. My name is Tayo Owuye, and I'll be facilitating this session. It's a great pleasure to have you all here. Today's academics is and professional environment is quite a different terrain entirely, with digital technologies increasingly transforming our terrain about how we write, how we plan, how we do a lot of things, even how we publish manuscripts. And I'm sure today you're ready to put into practice what we've learned over the past 3 days. Today, Professor Greg Arbo was talking about dampers, grids, and every other thing. And during this session, hopefully, our speaker today, I'm coming to introduce my brother. He's a brother, Mighty Oluwani. But during this session today, I'm sure you will be getting ready to know more about the common challenges about writing manuscripts, how to do it hands-on, how to use digital tools to help you as a researcher, to help you as early career scholars. How can you navigate it? How can you be productive with it? How can you collaborate with it? How can you make referencing, editing, writing a much more smoother process for you, and also to reflect how you can take this onto another level. So I want you to get your pens and paper ready, and get your questions also ready. Please use the chat box, the Q&A box, to post your questions. Use the chat box to put your comments in it while we get ready. And I'll be introducing Matthew Luwani. Now he's a researcher and is a writer that works at the intersection of AI governance, emerging technology policy, responsible innovation, and also institutional transformation. What it does best is to demystify the technical aspects of research writing, helping scholars move from the blank pages to a published or polished manuscript by using the right software and digital workflows. Please, you can get to know more about Tomati Oluwani very well. You can Google him. You can hear Professor Okon said earlier on that you can Google all of the speakers and try to contact them. So you can Google him and get more to know about him. So I encourage you to get ready, as this will be a very interactive session for you. And by the end of the session, I hope you have a greater confidence in identifying and using these digital tools for your own productivity. I hand over to my brother, Matthew Oluwani. You can take it off from here. Hello, Matthew.
Thank you very much. I appreciate this opportunity. Okay, can you hear me? Okay, thank you. Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate this opportunity to be able to interact with participants in this training, and to also get us some tools that is going to help us. You permit me, let me share my screen so that I can share my presentation straight away. Okay. Yeah. So based on the topic that have been told speak on, we're going to be looking at the leveraging digital tool to support manuscript writing. We all will agree with me that the age we are in is different from like 10, 15, 20 years ago. The game has changed when it comes to writing manuscripts, when it comes to doing research. A lot of digital transformation technology are being used now. Like I was speaking with people in my department like 2 weeks ago, that those days when you are going to write, you just write, send your publication by posts, be expecting reply, wait for like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks before you get response. But now, just through the digital platform, you can submit your manuscripts, you can get response almost immediately and in real time. And that's one of the reasons why we have to take advantage of technology. And one of the reasons why I consider this very, very important for us is we cannot also turn a blind eye to technology. I understand people have technological phobia, but we cannot turn a blind eye to technology. We have to look at the available technology and make use of it. Before I get into my session fully, I want to also agree with the fact that another aspect that we are faced with in our own generation is we have a lot of tools. And sometimes with a lot of tools, people get confused about what tool should I pick, what tool should I drop, and I will just address something along that line. Then you permit me, you may notice my bias during the process of talking, especially with respect to digital governance, with respect to digital safety, with respect to digital ethics. You are going to see me go around those areas because they are very important if we are using digital tools to pay attention to all those things around governance, safety, ethics, very, very critical for us to take note of. Okay, we are going to go ahead. Now, I strongly believe the last 2 days, today making the third day, had been filled with a lot of resources, a lot of resources. And right from day one, we're focused on the mindset. Most people don't realize that for you to be a good researcher, you need the mindset of a good researcher because everything starts in the mind. So on day one, we focus on the mindset, and very interestingly, we challenged the foreign gaze. We challenged the foreign gaze and we demanded epistemic justice. You know, most of the time, like Prof was saying, Professor Upon was saying some moments ago, that Africa must provide solution for Africa. I remember in the early days of this recent AI, one thing became very, very glaring. The AI system had bias in it. Because at the end of the day, the data that were used to train these AI systems, AI platform, AI tools, were not data generated from our own client. So at the end of the day, the system came with a lot of bias. And that's why I believe it's been corrected now. That's why sometimes you discover that those particular period, we had a lot of rejection coming from papers that are sent from Africa, because the system that were used to design this particular AI platform were not data generated from Africa. So these systems and this technology began to show bias. And that's why one of the reasons why it's very important for us to begin to develop Africa solution for Africa. Very important. And we are not just looking always towards the foreign gaze. So it's very important we pay attention to that. Then day two, we started talking about the story. You know, after establishing the mindset, we started talking about the story, and we started talking about democratizing research through storytelling and community engagement. I will still refer to the session I had with people in my department, and there's something very germane for me and it's very important to me. I always say this, that the benefit of your research is to improve the life of humans, is to make life better. So if your research ends up as just a presentation or a tool for promotion in your different institution, personally, I believe the aim is defeated. So it's very important to begin to take our research to, sometimes when you submit a paper, they ask you, what is the contribution to knowledge? Now, you need to begin to take your contribution to knowledge away from your department to meet the life of people in the society. I always say this, that as a researcher, if you cannot explain and express the contribution to knowledge of your research to a 10-year-old, there's still a skill you need to acquire. You know, we are very used to speaking with people in our client, people in our environment, people in our field. But when you need to pass across the knowledge acquired, how relevant is your contribution to knowledge to the ordinary man on the street? Would you be able to do that? So it's very important we learn to start democratizing our research, especially results from our research, to community engagement and to impact the life of people, the ordinary person in the street that is not a researcher, neither is he a scientist, but should be able to benefit. And for today, we are looking at the page. And we're going to ask ourselves, how do we efficiently get that powerful story into the global scholarly record, taking advantage of all the available tools, Now, let's pay attention to the golden rule of digital workflow. It's important we lay the foundation that tools must serve the writer argument, not the other way around. That's why it's actually called a tool. It should not take over your work. It should not take over your thought process. It is a tool. It means you have the original concept. You have the original idea. The tool only helps you to make it better, to sharpen it, to improve your work pace. And that's why it's very important for every tool that we are going to be exposed to. Yes, some of us are already exposed to them, or any particular tool that we're going to use in the future. It should be guided by this principle that these tools must serve your own argument as a writer. It must serve your own argument, not the other way around. And it's very important that we place priority on human logic over automated outputs. I take a lot of time to train on digital literacy, especially AI literacy. Now, one of the aspects that I would always emphasize and always talk about is to realize that this machine, at best, they are machines, they are not humans. And that's why they are called artificial intelligence. So you must match up artificial intelligence with your human intelligence. However, what we are taking note of today is a lot of people, because of the advent of artificial intelligence, they are throwing away their human intelligence through the window. So that's why it's very important to pay, as you are taking advantage of available digital tools, AI-powered tools, you should place priority on your human logic. Very, very important. And that's why we must have that balance. Digital tools, they are very good, very necessary, but it should not be at the expense of human logic. It should not be at the expense of human intelligence. It should not be at the expense of writers' argument. And that's why, as an individual, when I come up with a concept and I feel that I need to fine-tune the concept, I need a better expression. A lot of persons might have experienced this. I need a better expression of this concept. I take this concept, place it on a generative AI to help recapture and re-express the concept. You discover that there are sometimes some generative AI will totally change the concept you are presenting. And if you are not someone that places priority on human logic, you take it hook, line, and sinker. But it's very important, once this output comes out from any generative AI, reach through again and ask yourself, is this the original concept I placed into this machine? Or was this the original concept I placed? Does this still interpret my own original argument? Or the machine has placed its own bias into this argument? And for those of us that we have been very familiar with generative AI platform, you discover that one of the downside, even though these days it's reducing because of improvement, one of the downside is hallucination. And if you don't pay attention to proper governance in what you do, you are going to carry this over into your research. And at the end of the day, it is not your original thought that is being expressed. It is now a thought from the machine. So that's why it's important for us to ensure that the writer's argument is preserved, even when we are talking about the use of digital tools, when we are talking about the use of AI-driven tools, very, very critical. And when we are going to decide on particular tools, remember I said something when I was starting, that this day and age, we have a lot of tools. You cannot keep up with it. You just decide which one gets you the results. And you discover that you need to ask yourself two questions. Is this tool saving time for me? Or is it creating more administrative work for me? The purpose of a tool is to save time and improve your work. So if it is the other way around, it is no longer a tool. It has now become maybe a spanner in your wheel. So it's very important to take note that if it is saving time, keep it and use it as a tool. But if it is creating more administrative work for you, drop it. You can't use that as a tool. That's very important to pay attention to. And as a strategic scholar, it's very important to preserve your critical thinking. I have found myself in a lot of platforms that people are expressing concern with the advancement of technology, especially digital transformation technologies, and most especially AI. And people express a lot of concern with respect to this technology and if it's not going to take over jobs. And I always say taking over jobs is the least of your worry. The top of our worry is, hope this technology would not take over our brain. Your ability to think critically, your cognitive skills, your cognitive ability, because there is a way this machine can generate a lot of results, very interesting results, that you'll be tempted to leave your cognitive ability, your critical thinking. So we must maintain that, and that is our strategy first. We must maintain our critical thinking, very important, and not become over-reliant on automation and on technology. Very, very important for us to take note. And that's why we said it, that digital tools, or we would reemphasize the fact that digital tools must serve your argument, not override your voice. Now, there are 4 steps which are repeatable and which can become routine for you to develop workflow pipeline for African scholars. And it's very important we pay attention to this. First, you have your outline. When I have opportunity to speak to researchers about tools, one of the primary foundation I always lay is this: do not touch the tools, or don't start with the tools first. Start with your brain. Come up with your writings, come up with your draftings, come up with your outline. Don't start with the tool. And this is a mistake a lot of people make, and it will start building the foundation of what we call cognitive atrophy. So dependent on machine that you have transferred your cognitive responsibility to machine. And before you know, it will start to have some impact and some effect with your cognitive ability and your cognitive skills. So it's very important. Don't start with the tools. Start with your brain. Start with your mind. Write out your outlines. Write out your logical structure. Write out what you want to focus on. What are the narrative flow? Give yourself, even though there is machine that could help to get things done better, give yourself the opportunity to start the work first. Start the thinking process first. Remember, I talk about critical thinking. Engage in critical thinking with respect to what you are coming up with. Focus on narrative flow with minimal distraction. Focus on narrative flow with minimal distraction. Then after writing, you begin to look into citation. Definitely, you have to start using tools here. Example, Zotero. And we're going to focus on Zotero in a moment. You start making use of tools like Zotero. Very, very important, very, very critical tool. Then we get into polishing your work. You refine your syntax, not your argument. And most of the time, you could use generative AI to achieve this. But remember the clause: your argument must be preserved. Your argument must be preserved so that the machine don't take over your argument and turn it into something else, but your argument must be preserved. Now, step 1, structural planning and outlining, building a logical scaffold. Now, one of the things we want to aim at is to reduce cognitive load. We live in an age that we have information overload. Remember, I talked about there are a lot of tools. So from a lot of tools, we also have information overload. And the problem is that you are getting overwhelmed by trying to write full paragraphs immediately. And how do we fix this? Treat your outline as the skeleton of your manuscripts. You treat your outline as the skeleton of your manuscript, or sometimes I would refer to it as a framework. I am a very strong proponent for framework because framework gives you the foundation to now build on eventually. And some of the tools that can help us in achieving this is, example, we have mind mapping tools that we put in graphical terms those thought patterns, those workflow that you expect to follow through your work. You know, we have Xmind, we have Miro, we have Simple Text Editor. I have a personal liking for Xmind because number one, Xmind is free, and Xmind has a lot of features in it, and we're going to look at it very closely. Then one of the action steps we have to take is to map your core research into section, subheading, and data placement first to ensure an unshakable narrative flow. So before you start getting all your literature review, there should be a framework. And one of the things that can help you to develop a framework is to use mind mapping tools. And like I said, example of mind mapping tools is the Xmind. Now, when you check this other side of my slide, you would see how an Xmind works. I think this is an Xmind interface, how it works. Very fast, since this is supposed to be an hands-on, I would quickly take us through something. Now, with respect to Xmind, it's important to, with respect to Xmind, it's important to take note of the fact that it is meant to help to organize your thoughts. You know, it's meant to help to organize your thought. It's meant to help to tap into creativity. And because of our time, I will quickly get into my screen since I'm still sharing my screen. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Let me do this. Now, for Xmind. Okay. So for Xmind, all you need to do is you can just go to your Google and just type Xmind. Just type Xmind. Because of our time, there are some things I've done ahead, so I'll just explain. But there are some things I would have to write in on the screen. So you just type Xmind and pick the first one that comes with the download free mind mapping software for desktop. So once you click on this, it's going to open this page. And it says, map your mind, clear your next step. Remember, it is meant to help us to start developing your framework into your research and your write-up. Now, for Xmind, I think it's currently only available for Windows user. I don't think it's available for Mac OS or any other operating system. It's available for Windows. So for Xmind, to help to map your mind, you would need to be on a Windows operating system. However, if you don't have a window or your operating system is not Windows, you just need to scroll down, and you see Try Xmind Online. So what we are going to do, to save us time of downloading the software, we are going to click on Try Xmind Online. And when you click on Try Xmind Online, this is the next page it's going to open. It will open this page. Now, when you come to this page, it's very important to take note that there are different ways you can use this Xmind application or this Xmind tool. Remember, it is meant to create the initial framework that you can always edit and work around to determine your pathway and your pipeline. Now, if you are a first-time user, I would encourage to not go to brainstorming yet. It has its own rule. I would encourage to not go to mind map yet. It has its own rule. I would encourage to go to create with AI. Now, when we go to create with AI, let's click on this, create with AI. Okay, very good. Now, once you click on create with AI, it brings you to this page. Now, once you come to this space, all you need to do is, let's assume I want to do a research work. Sorry. Okay. Research. Work on. So research work on, let's say, impact. Sorry. sorry, let me, that's impact of AI in research, in research work. Okay, let me just impact of AI in research work, just a topic, so that we can get something. Now, take note, once you type the particular topic of what is the original work you want to start with, you have an option of, if you have some materials already that you would want the X-Mind to pay attention to in developing a structure for you or in developing a mind map for you, you could come to this. Okay, let me see if I can make this. Okay. So you could come to this. Let me bring this. Okay. You could come to this arrow map. You click on it. Once you click on it, it could allow you to upload any particular document or any particular materials or any particular resources that you want to use alongside with your work. So let's go back. Let's go back to this. Impacts. That's impact of, sorry, please. Impact of AI on research work. Okay. So we want to generate a mind map with this particular topic. Now, we could decide, I would prefer to use a work breakdown, because remember, mind map would also help you to have a kind of work breakdown for whatever you are doing. Okay, so let me pick work breakdown. Let me pick work breakdown. Then I think we can now enter. So let's see what it's going to bring out for me. Now you can see impact of AI in research is creating the likely mind map. Sorry. I accidentally clicked on. Let me run that again. Impact AI on research. Okay. Oh, let me go back to, I'm actually using, it's supposed to be this is a free version. And remember, one of the decision or one of the information and background that is guiding tools, especially in a resource limited environment like ours, is to make use of free plan. However, I discovered that I've been using this for a while, so the credit is gone. I think in 24 hours or so it resets. I think 24 hours or so it resets, but I've exhausted the credit. So all that I just wanted to make us realize is this tool can be used to generate what we call a mind map that will eventually guide our work. Okay. Sorry, let me, since I already have this, let me see if it can bring this for us. Okay. 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 Okay, this is another approach. There are templates. So the purpose of this is to help us to get some basic exposures. Definitely would not be able to have the perfect skills acquired, but it gives us that exposure that we can go back on our own to sit over, and like we have been told, at any particular point in time during usage, if you are facing any challenge, please be very free to reach out. Now, another step we need to look at is seamless reference management. Referencing is one thing you cannot do without in research. And that's why we need to ask ourselves what tool can help us to conquer the citation headache. And remember, we want to pay attention to free tools, and most especially that would not require so much bandwidth of internet. Now, bandwidth, Roddy, bandwidth, not bandits, bandwidth of internet. Now, we are paying attention to Zotero for a particular reason. Number one, it is 100% free. Then it is open source. It is 100% free. It is open source. It means you are not paying for any software upgrade. Then also it levels the global playing field. The same Zotero that I'm going to use in Nigeria is the same you are going to use in South Africa, is the same you are going to use in South America. It provides a level playing field. Now, another advantage, especially once you have Zotero installed on your machine, that is on your laptop, you can work offline on it. It works fully on your local machine. It's not saving your data in the cloud. And I believe also as a researcher, one of the concerns I've seen researchers express is the security of their data or the security of their research data. So for Zotero, your data and everything you are working on or you have uploaded to Zotero, it is saved in your local drive. It is not saved in the cloud. So that security is there. Then also it helps to keep your data local without consuming internet bandwidth. It helps to keep your data local. That is, the data is resident on your device. Then also one of the benefits of Zotero is it collects citations and PDF offline from multiple sources with just a single click. Then also you can cite while you write both offline in Word and using Google Doc. And what you have here is the interface of Zotero. Because of our time, I would also just play a short video, then take us to the interface briefly of Zotero. Take us to the interface of Zotero, what it can help to accomplish. So, okay. Okay. Now, it's important to take note that Zotero is a tool that, number one, remember, it is free. Number two, it is open source. And number three, it saves the data on your device. Your data is not saved in the cloud. And that's why it's a very excellent reference manager. Now, compared with the previous tool, XMind, XMind works mainly for Windows, but Zotero works for both Windows, Mac iOS, and other operating system. Very important. Now, I would want you to pay attention to this in the process of working with Zotero. Once you, let me take us to the web page. I believe I got it opened. So, okay. Okay, let me just use this to explain this for us. Once you get to Google, like I always say, just type Zotero. Once you type Zotero, it would bring an option. Click on that Zotero link. It would come up into opening this particular page. It will open this page. Once you open this page, just click on this download. And once you click on this download, it would give you this interface. This interface would come up. Yeah, once you click on this download, the interface will come up to download directly on your Windows. Remember, you would have to use it offline. Remember, for XMind, you can use it both online and you can download it on your device. But for this, you download it on your device. And once you download it on your device, it is also encouraged, strongly encouraged, to download the connector, Zotero connector. Now, the purpose of the Zotero connector is if you eventually are working online, it can also start doing that automated referencing work for you. So that if you pick a particular document online, you don't need to start copying the reference of that particular document or that particular article online. You don't need to start copying the reference. You just click on the Zotero link. It will automatically extract the reference out for you to use and quote, especially if you are picking your references directly online. So it's important we pay attention to that. Okay, I still have some time. So once you get it downloaded, pay attention to all these interface. Let's just move fast so that we can. Okay, now remember, like I made mention, it's very important to install connector. Then please, when installing your connector, install the connector according to your web browser. If you are using a Mozilla, install a connector for Mozilla. If you are using Chrome, install connector for Chrome. If you are using Edge, that is Microsoft Edge, install connector for Edge. If you are using Safari, install connector.
I guess Dr. Luani has some connecting issues, so please just kindly bear with us as the connection gets stabilized. Okay. I think we lost him over there. You'll be signing back very soon, and please just have some patience. We know the challenges that we're having, but we are actually getting over it. And so while we wait for Dr. Luwani, if you have any question, can you please put it in the Q&A chat? Any comments, you can also put it there so that we can get this session engaging. Oh, you're welcome back.
Sorry about that.
To Matthew. I mean, we understand what is the connection issue. So you
Okay.
want to bring up your, although you have just about a few minutes to go, just about three
How many minutes do I have left?
You have 3 minutes.
3 minutes? Okay,
Yes.
let me just conclude it. Okay. I'll just conclude it. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so so sorry about that. One other tool that I feel a lot of persons have commonized. Sorry, is my screen on?
No, not yet.
Not yet. Oh, sorry.
Yes. Okay.
What about now?
Yes, it's on.
Okay. One other tool that I feel a lot of researchers are not using enough is as simple as Google Doc. Google Doc is a tool that we need to pay attention to. I remembered I had to supervise some work with some learners from University of Lagos. And as we were going to start, they were going to do a mini research. All I had to do was open a Google Doc for each of them, placed my email as a collaborator, placed them as a key writer, so that at the end of the day, I can follow up with whatever work they are doing. So I believe Google Doc is one of some tools that a lot of researchers are not paying attention to and using enough. And it's important to take note of these, that as researchers, we need to refine without replacing your voice. Refine without replacing your voice. Use Grammarly to refine your expression without replacing your voice. Remember, I'm always emphasizing the over-relying on automation at the expense of critical thinking. And one final takeaway I want to just leave with us as African scholars, especially what I would refer to as a no bandit playbook, is to pay attention to first your strategy, then build your logic to reduce mental load. Then when making your tool decision, ensure that it saves time and drop it if it creates administrative bottleneck. Very important. Remember, we focus on tools that are free and low bandwidth, and that's one of the reasons why I talk more on Zotero. And in conclusion, it's very important to pay attention to a strategic and offline first routine. Remember, build your logical scaffold before writing. Master Zotero for offline first reference management. Now, I discovered some things that I think it was last week. I was even discovering some other features of Zotero. You know, technology is something that you cannot 100% capture. You need to keep learning, keep exposing yourself, and try to remove that part of you that is technological, that is technology, that has a technology phobia. Then we should learn to collaborate using single source of truth tool and offline mode. Then we need to preserve our authentic African scholarly voice through critical polish. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Matthew Oluwani. It's been wonderful listening to you and your breakdown of leveraging the digital tools. If I may just give more like a summary of what you've done in the last 37 minutes or so, is that I mean, for our participants, you will see the trajectory of what Oluwani had actually presented to us today, coming from the part of the mindset. And that is, I think, the first part in which he actually on it on about our mindset must be right as a researcher. If you had followed everything that has been said from day one, day two, even for today, where we've been encouraged to also rise from our failures, our mindset is actually key in getting the benefits of research and to make life better. I mean, he also honored that aside from that mindset is also for us to know what our research will do. It's not just to place them on the shelf, but get them out there to impact our lives. And if there is anything that keeps coming up, recurring in this session is your voice must be original. Your voice is key. Whatever machine, whatever tools that you may be using, your voice is actually key in getting your manuscript accepted, in getting your manuscript out there, irrespective of the machine, irrespective of the tools that you may be getting. And I guess I'm looking for some questions around here, but we don't have any questions yet. But I think I have a question for my brother here today. So in terms of using all of these tools, how do you balance between increasing productivity and preserving our intellectual ownership? I mean, you've talked about critical thinking, but how do we balance it so much so that the brain is a powerhouse for intelligence, but we also have so much intelligence out there? How do we get our brain to really take the upper hand and not the tools, practical steps in getting our brain to take the power? You've talked about Zotero. There are quite a number of tools out there. Zotero ahead several years ago. I think I tend towards using Mendeley a lot. These are tools for us to use, but how do we balance it so much so that we can be productive, balancing how we use all of these things together for our own work in the African terrain?
Okay, thank you very much. I would encourage the sandwich approach. And what's the sandwich approach? Start with your brain, get tools to work, let your brain check again. I would really encourage that, because at the end of the day, when it comes to governance, when it comes to digital governance, it's very important when you use a tool, before you push the result out, let an human still look at it. Let an human still take a look. So that's why I would recommend the sandwich approach. Start with your brain, get tools to work, then check it out again before you push it out. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We were having some discussions some days ago here, and someone just said that AI has been around for quite a long time, even before the prevalence that we have today. Humans have been AI, just like you said earlier on. We write, but we give to someone else to help us. What is the person doing? The person is standing in the place of AI, where the person helps you to proofread, to correct, and do all sorts. So rather than that, I'm just quite buttressing what you've done, what you've said, is even when you have used AI, can you still contact an human person, a human, to help you read it, whether it's making sense to human beings, not to machine alone? I mean, I don't know whether you want to also talk about that more, if there are some things you want to talk about that.
Yeah, very, 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 very critical and very important to pay attention to. I want to draw attention to a particular news that made headline some few months ago. Is it Diolates? They did a particular report for a province in Canada, and the person that handled this used AI, but never checked after it was done, sent it out, and those guys that paid millions of dollars for the work discovered it was AI. And at the end of the day, it was discovered that they never used that approach of start with brain, used to check again before pushing out. So it's very important for us to accept that fact that machine is here to stay. We are not against the use of machine. In fact, we're encouraging it to use it to enhance productivity. But it's very important that we don't put our brain to sleep. After you have done your work, use your machine, any of the AI tools to improve your work, still sit back and check again. I'm speaking from experience, especially in the last few months. I have seen a lot and gotten a lot of experiences that you feel the work is good. You just said that, let me have a second look. And you discover that a particular paragraph, the total concept have changed. So you need to say, no, this is not what I am talking about. This is not what I'm talking about. This is not my original concept. So it's just very important to always pay attention to the fact that as much as you are using machine, as much as you are using AI-driven tool, that does not mean that our brain should go to sleep. We should still be very critical and check our work before pushing out.
Thank you so much. I have a question from Okumodede here. And the question is, in what capacity can we take our research findings outside our institution, since it is often guided or owned by our supervisor? Won't it be like betrayal if we take it up after graduation?
Sorry? Well, even though can I go ahead, Dr. Owe?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
You can.
Yeah, even though this does not have to do with tool, but the question resonates with me. I think for the sake of ethics or for ethical reason, your supervisor has made a contribution to that work, and there's an intellectual property of your supervisor in that work. So I believe if you want to take it out, it should be with their consent or informed. I remembered when I finished in school, I had opportunity to flesh up my work, my research work, and eventually there was a conference in San Francisco that I had to go and present the work. Immediately I noticed that this abstract is accepted. I called my supervisor. Excuse me, with respect to this work, I did some extra updates on it. I gathered some extra data, and I would be presenting it in a conference in San Francisco. And she said, oh, go ahead. That's very good. I needed to do that for ethical reasons. Yes, I could have gone and without measuring it, but remember, in academia, we also pay attention to ethics. So I think it's not out of place to inform your supervisor if you are going to be using the work externally, because his intellectual property has also been contributed to that work. That's my thoughts.
Okay, I have some questions in the Q&A. One, I think I'll combine some on Xmind. Okay, I think it's the same thing. I said, can the Xmind work help with organizing the workflow for systematic reviews? Whether that's a yes or no thing, can it work for systematic reviews?
Yeah, well, for Xmind, especially if it is a workflow, it will help you to create a workflow for systematic reviews. The basic use of Xmind is to just create a mind map or to create a flow chart or to create a workflow in graphical form. So if it is creating workflow for systematic reviews, you can use Xmind for that.
Okay. For the person asking about getting the slide, I think you have access. You can subscribe to the YouTube and then you can rewatch over and over again in case you want to have access to the video. The slides, I don't know, probably can get across to the organizers. Joseph Bello is asking, research study is always a challenge to me to understand. How can all of these data tools, I guess that's what Joseph Bello is asking, how can this data tool help me out?
Okay, with respect to this topic, I would encourage this. Number one, you have I remember we always say start with your own brain first. You have an idea of what is the particular area of interest with respect to your research. Remember, every research is meant to solve a problem. What problem will your research be solving? Now, once you're able to look around that, I believe this should have been handled before now. It's also important to begin to look at what are the related researches that had been done in this particular aspect that I'm looking at. Remember, we are going somewhere. What are the researches that have been carried out? And that's when you check, you search online using Google Scholar. Or after you type your topic, just add scholarly at the end of your topic. So it's going to just bring out research that is related to that so that you have an idea of what are the other research that have been done in this direction. Now, you now come to your own main research, like you have placed, that research study is always a challenge for me to understand. How can I be helped out? One of the things I would ask you to do is, I want to believe, I don't know if this question is well framed, but let me just go ahead with what I assume is asking. One of the things I would encourage you to do is look at a particular work that has been done. If you have the opportunity to download it from maybe Google Scholar or ResearchGate or from any of the other platforms, and you're able to download, pick that particular download and upload it on a generative AI and put in your prompt. For instance, you want to find out what is this research study about, as if I understand your asking. What is this research study about? It's going to give you a very brief summary, and you would use that to see if it goes in line or if it provides a guiding rail for the work that you want to carry out. Because at the end of the day, you discover that when it comes to research, there is really no new thing. That's why we're calling it research. You are researching. So it's likely someone has done something in that line, and you need to look at another dimension or another perspective of that work. Sometimes the perspective might be geographical perspective or scope. Sometimes the perspective might be gender. So you could now decide that, okay, the aspect of study, if I understand you well, the aspect of study I want to embark on is the gender influence on this particular issue that is being discussed, or the geographic influence on this particular study, the economic influence on this particular study. So I think that would help. If I understand your question very well, I think that would help you.
Thank you so much. I'm going to compress about 4 or 5 questions together so that you can be able to. One is about which reference tool is, I guess, is saying the best in between Zotero, EndNote, and Mendeley. And someone said, I've used Mendeley, and it feels like it is easier to use than Zotero. the person will be trying that one out. So, but wants to ask if there is an app that could help with cross-referencing when writing papers. So, which of this is the best? And is there any app to be used for cross-referencing and to overcome plagiarism in writing? If you can, within 2 minutes.
Sorry, I did not know I was
okay.
mute. Sorry.
Yes.
Okay, first, Zotero, EndNote, Mendeley. They are similar in function, but with different capacity and features. Zotero would help you if you don't want your work online. You want to work on your local device, then also in a bandwidth restricted environment. Maybe you are not having enough data, you're not having enough network. Once you have installed Zotero on your system, you are good to go anytime, network or no network. That's one benefit to Zotero. Then Zotero is also open, is a open source software. Now, being an open source software means there is no particular one person that would claim ownership on there and ask you, come and pay for subscription, because it is open source. However, for Mendeley and EndNotes, they are premium softwares, and you would have to pay to use them. Although from different researchers, most researchers come on to say they prefer EndNotes, even though it's expensive, but they prefer EndNote because of some features that it has. So if you are just going to be doing basic referencing, nothing too technical, as it were, even some level of cross-referencing, you can also do it with your Zotero, especially with the fact that it is beneficial for resource constraints environment, very beneficial for resource constraint environment. You are not paying for any update, you are not paying for any software. That's very important. Then there was another question. Okay, which referencing tool is best between? Okay, so for me, I would, for this environment, I would prefer Zotero. But if you want something more pricey with some more features, I would recommend EndNotes.
Well, I think Mendeley is quite free. It's a free tool that you can use. And I think I just Googled it. You don't have to pay for Mendeley.
Pay for Mendeley, okay.
Yeah, I know using Mendeley 2010, something like that, but I think it's quite free that you can use that. But just on the last note, just 1 minute or two, the issue of ethics. Someone had asked, can I use Xmind for structuring subheading study or something like that? But the issue of ethics and AI, what will you term ethical use of AI? Just for you to wrap it up, then we can just call it a day.
Okay. Number one, which a lot of people or some persons don't pay attention to, is disclosure. Disclosure. Even when you use AI to generate an image, as a researcher, it's very important to mention it. I'm currently writing a book, and I use AI to generate some of the image, and I gave it to somebody to go through, and the person was like, do you need to mention that? I say, yes, you need to disclose if you used AI to do any portion of your work. Not disclosing it is one of ethical issues that researchers face or would face. Now, one of the reasons why it's important to disclose is, remember, sometimes this AI platform, they could also get their data from work that has already been published, work that has already been made available on the internet. They could get some of their information from it, and you picking it to use, if you don't make mention of the fact that this was gotten from AI, some ethical issues are already coming to play. Some ethical issues are already coming to play. So I would say primarily it has to do with disclosure. Disclose when you use AI. It's very important to disclose when you use AI.
Thank you so much, my brother Matthew Luani, for this wonderful presentation. And I can see quite a number of questions, and some quite a number of them touching on ethics and priority or preference. So that was why I was able to just collapse everything into one. So you've heard all about Zotero, EndNotes. You've heard about using your own voice, even if you are using a tool. A tool at its own spirit, but you need to get your own voice out there in order for you to make impact. People want to hear stories. They don't want to hear machine-made stories. They want to hear human-driven stories. So there are ethics to saying stories that can impact lives. Real stories do impact life, not machine stories do impact life. And I feel Matuluani has said quite a lot about this, but one thing he has said that is consistent is please use your brain to do whatever you need to do. We've been given this super house of intelligence to do our manuscript writing, to do our work here, and to make powerful impact, even from the place of the African setting and African epistemology. There's so much out there that yet to be known about Africa, and we need to put it out there. Our stories are quite important. I would like to thank you, Mighty Oluwani, for this time, and also thank all the organizers of the Manuscript Academy Hub for this opportunity to be part of this. Thank you so much, and that's a wrap for this session. I hand over to the organizers. Thank you. You're on mute, Ma.
For the section that you moderated so perfectly well. We appreciate you. And now, at this minute, at this second, we have successfully come to the end of 2026 Manuscript Writing Hub Virtual Conference, tagged Amplifying African Scholarship, Writing for Impact in a Complex World. We started since Wednesday, which was the 28th of May, 21st of May. We started on transdisciplinary research in African futures, and Dr. Shaya Bimbola did justice to that. He admonished us that we need to communicate our story through our eyes as African, and our perspective audience matters. So we need to speak in the language that they understand. Then we moved on to day 2, which was yesterday on a Thursday. Professor Osayomi did justice to the untold story of Africa, finding our way using our own way. He mentioned decolonizing curriculum, decolonizing research, appreciating what is ours, learn to always cite African authors, and we've all learned from his wealth of experience. Then we moved on to that same day, we talked about paradigm shift with storytelling. And Dr. Musa Aminu was able to do justice to that. He talked about the importance of storytelling, how it matters from the village square to the highest level of policy influence, which was a quote from our own dear Professor Morenike Upong. And today, we have rounded up this conference, starting from Professor Greg Irabo, trying to tell us and make us see what the politics of publishing looks like. And he made a profound submission, saying we should never be discouraged. We should never be discouraged by rejection, and we should always count on our passion and perseverance. But above all, passions help us overcome all obstacles. Why are we in this space? Why am I a researcher? Identify your team. Exhausted. He said a healthy well-being will come through division of labor, and you only do what you cannot outsource out. And there should be a balance between your work and family space. Don't get exhausted. Be the feminine, the masculine that you are meant to be. Don't run in another person's lane. Then we are able to round it up with insights from Samati Oluwaniyi, leveraging on digital tools to support manuscript writing. He told us about that tools must serve us as writers, not that we as writers must be serving the tool. Tool must relieve stress. It is not that it will be an added stress to us. And above all, the biggest tool lies in our skull. We should first highlight what the writing outline should be before we go through tools. We should not let tools, AI, take over what our brain can do. And I got this from him. He said, don't start with the tools to prevent cognitive atrophy. Start using your brain. Start using your brain. We should preserve our authentic African scholarly voice through critical polishing of our write-up. So we have come to the end of the conference, and we have two major announcements for us. One is that we want you to please go through the chat box and join the Manuscript Writing Research Hub. This is where you get access to prompt information about grant writing, about grant opportunity, about postdoctoral training. Then we have ongoing training for early career researchers. Please do well to join if you are not part of the Writing Hub yet. And we are using this medium to invite you to 2027 conference, God willing, that it keeps all of us safe and sound by then. And keep working on your work so that you have that opportunity to present at the conference. To this end, we want to say thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. If you have not filled the survey, please do well to do so now. And I'm not sure if Professor Morenike Rupong will be able to give just a last shout out to everyone that has joined in today, if she's still on the line.
Thank you, everyone. See you next year. Bye.
Thank you, ma'am. Yeah.
Thank you all, colleagues. Munya here from Cape Town Stellenbosch University. It was nice and great to meet all of you. Let's keep the fire burning, spread the love, and really hoping to see some of you in person as we go. Thank you for all you do for the continent.
Yeah, thank you, brother. Looking forward to South African meeting 2027. Fingers crossed.
We have to see you here before 2027, Prof, so that you plant the seed.
Yeah, fingers crossed it will happen. Bye.
Thank you so much. Restorative weekend, and have a blessed one. Regards to the family.